Chapter 221. Tasha's Real Power. Are you serious? Michelle furrowed her eyebrows. Ayaka tilted her head in confusion, looking at Michelle for an explanation. Michelle didn't notice her action and kept asking Tasha, "Have you thought about it? Have Kai agreed on this matter? I thought about it just now. Are you crazy? You will be targeted, you know. I know I am prepared for it. In fact, I have been thinking about this since a few months ago where we were trapped in the underground cave. If I use everything in my possession, I am able to obliterate the enemies. Maybe a few thousands of them." Tasha closed her eyes and sighed. "Yet I worried about Kai and our parents because the trouble wouldn't come only to me, but also them. Isn't that the reason why Kai forbade you?" Michelle gritted her teeth. "I know, however, I'm afraid that the next opponent will be a big one." Tasha narrowed her eyes, leaking her killing intent. "Those protectors, huh?" Michelle took a deep breath. "Yes, normal means won't be effective against them. I don't like how the burden falls on his shoulders. So rather than looking at him in front alone, it's better to join him on the side." "Fair enough." Michelle let out a long sigh. "If you've thought about everything, I won't say anything about your decision. Just make sure you inform him about this. I understand I will surely talk with him before I am using it. For the time being, I plan to train in those areas to ensure perfect control of my magic." Tasha nodded with a solemn expression. Michelle then noticed Ayaka's clueless expression. "I don't know whether Kai has told you about it or not, but Tasha's space magic is a sealing magic. This magic is powerful, but she never shows her talent in this area because it's forbidden. Kai asked her not to use this magic and make the others think she only has a normal space magic. Let's take a single example. There is a magic called Sealing Sphere. Due to her low inborn magic power, she can only summon 3 of them, so it's considered a low side. Nonetheless, it's still one of the most powerful magic. I will explain this magic a little. First of all, this magic can seal a certain amount of space. The real power behind it is the compression power. Imagine if she compressed a certain amount of air and burst it out. I don't know how big the explosion will be, but it should be around your strongest scarlet. Explosion. And there will be 3 of them coming in. Despite the powerful magic, this magic doesn't need a huge amount of magic power because it only needs to summon the sphere and compress. That's all. You can see how powerful it is. Right, Ayaka thought for a moment and nodded. And the fact that she can seal anything is also another problem. Let's see. How about compressing your scarlet explosion and let it explode again? From the theory alone, it should cause bigger destruction. Then how about carrying compressed water that can't be compressed? The sudden expansion will give a powerful shockwave capable of cutting your hand. If I were her, I might even try compressing a huge amount of poisonous gas as my trump card, Michelle said with a grim expression. I understand. The government might want to get that power more than Kai's power. I have once heard that there was once the same magician as her, but died in the battle. Ayaka suddenly remembered a certain matter. I don't know whether it's true or not, but there is also another version of it. It's said that he died because the government thought he was too dangerous. Michelle shrugged. Ayaka couldn't say anything afterward, realizing how big the matter would become. Anyway, I disagree with you using it unless Kai lifts the ban on your magic. You should know as well that your power will endanger him. I know. Tasha nodded with a solemn expression. Don't worry, I am not planning to use it so soon. Kai has new magic, so I am thinking about polishing my lightning magic first, while training my sealing magic secretly. Wait. Kai should hear this, right? His hearing is. Ayaka was confused once again. Look at his state, and you will know. He's too tired for this, and usually he doesn't really like listening while sleeping. I don't know the details, but he is programming his brain like that. Of course, he can still listen, but he chooses not to. Tasha looked at Kai with a gentle smile. I also believe that you should talk about it to Kai before doing anything this dangerous. Ayaka nodded. I know. So, can you keep this a secret first? I might probably do it where Kai couldn't hear me. Tasha smiled. Michelle and Tasha looked at each other and nodded. We understand. Little did they know that Kai, on the bed, clenched his fist despite closing his eyes. The next day, Kai rose from his bed, pretending like he didn't hear a single thing last night. He looked at Tasha, Michelle, and Ayaka, who were busy preparing themselves for today's fun. Good morning, I am sorry about yesterday. Got a little tired, Kai apologized. It's fine. You can even sleep for another hour if you want. We will bring breakfast to this room and leave the hotel in 1.5 hours. Michelle smiled gently. After finishing their preparation, the three girls left Kai alone in the room. Without anyone to talk to, Kai reached the communication device and noticed a single message. I am sorry to leave so suddenly. I have some clues about the leader of the third party, so I immediately went there without saying goodbye. Unfortunately, he had escaped. I will try to solve this issue as soon as possible, but I don't know when I can solve it, so you should be more careful and contact me, or have Tasha contact me if you notice something suspicious. It's better you don't know much about this, but I will tell you the identity of the person who targeted you. He used to work under me in the Zodiac plan and became the vice leader of the project when the government took over the project. It was at that time I left the project. His name is Matt. Anyway, you shouldn't think much about this person and let me handle it. It seems he escaped somewhere, so I will start tracking him right now. Other than this person, I have another thing to inform you. It's about Sophia Campbell. Just like how she is trying to entice you to come with her to the EU base, you can do the same and have her stay in this base. You know what I mean. From the government's perspective, it will be giving another fang to a tiger. Just look at you. 2 S-rank magicians and 1 Zodiac as your girlfriends. There is no way the government will give you up. Anyway, I will leave this matter to you. If you don't find her attractive, I will support your decision. Political marriage is a thing, especially between the 2 bases, but I will fight the government if you don't want such a thing. I just want you to be happy like how you made my black and white world colorful again a decade ago. See you later, Ria Ross. Kai became speechless. He didn't need to comment on anything about the first message about that guy because he trusted his teacher. However, the second one was really unnecessary. Kai let out a long sigh, thinking about the matter at hand. I need many things to do now. After having their breakfast, they finally went around Miami, buying all the things they wanted to buy. It was a fun time for Kai since he could enjoy everything with the girls. At the same time, Sophia could only suck her thumb because she couldn't predict where Kai would go. She understood Kai's strength. Not only was he a brilliant fighter, but he could also command the army perfectly. With that extraordinary hearing, no wonder US base made an exception for him. Sophia was trying to see whether there was a gap she could exploit to bring Kai back to EU base. Besides, there was also that medicine. The value of that medicine was far too high, because it allowed the Zodiac to give birth to a baby. She also knew about the US base real plan about Zodiac, so she knew that this medicine would certainly make their plan succeed. If she ignored the fact that the US base had more advanced medicine and genetics than them, she was pretty happy with this because they were closer to the future, where the humans ruled the Earth once again. In the end, Sophia stayed inside the hotel room for another day because she was sure Kai would come to the beach tomorrow. The next day, Kai went to the beach again with the whole group, and Sophia used this chance to visit Kai, talking from small things to big things such as the previous war and the conference in 2 days. The girls kept interrupting them every time Sophia tried to make a move. As annoying as it may, Kai didn't do anything because he didn't like it anyway. Sophia ended up getting a crushing defeat on the beach and decided to return to the hotel. The next day, their vacation had finally come to an end. The 7 days had passed, and all of them went to the airport. He and the others were pretty satisfied with the vacation and boarded the plane with a smile on their face. Chapter 222, The Negotiation. After the vacation, everyone's mind should feel refreshed except Kai. Kai still needed to finish a few paperwork in his hand and learn some information about what kind of conference he would attend after this. On the other hand, the girls didn't bother him this whole time, and he knew the reason. He didn't stop them or say anything about their actions because he respected their will. Nonetheless, they wanted to get stronger to help him, so how could he say no? 2 days passed in a blink of eyes. Kai woke up after noticing a car park in front of his house. The suit and the documents had been prepared, so he only needed to wash himself for a bit and came out. To his surprise, the person he met this time was a middle-aged man with long blue hair. He felt that he had seen this person somewhere, but he couldn't remember it. Nice to meet you, Sakai Carter. I am Julio Chambers. I am currently serving as the Vice Minister of Defense. I have heard everything about you from my daughter. Even some people from our department are your fans, you know. The middle-aged man smiled. Chambers. A certain figure appeared inside his head after hearing a familiar name. It was Michelle's former friend, serving as the current secretary of the student council. Ah, are you Miss Lexi Chambers' father? I have heard about her from Michelle. Yes, I am her father, though she is too shy to admit it. He smiled gently. Anyway, I will be your partner during the negotiation. I understand. I am not that good at a job like this, so please guide me. Kai nodded and stretched his hand. Of course. Julio shook his hand. Please come in first. We can talk about some important things inside. Kai nodded and followed Julio to the car. They started talking about some important parts that might appear during the meeting. Despite how he looked, Julio didn't talk anything about his daughter. He was very professional, leading Kai from one point to another without changing or mentioning a single clue about other topics. Not long after, they arrived at the venue where they were supposed to meet. The venue was not far from the school and military base, since everything could happen in a conversation like this. In fact, the venue was built because of the past incident where an ambassador of another base got assassinated, even though the goal was clear, which was to take another step in clearing the magical beasts. Some people still felt threatened by something like that. Kai perfectly understood it, because he had experienced it himself in United Asia. They entered the venue and waited inside a small room where the negotiation would convene. It was a spacious room without many things inside it. A red carpet covered the floor, and the wall had a beautiful but simple wallpaper. One side of the room was completely filled with windows, letting the people inside see the scenery outside the room. Kai closed his eyes as soon as he entered the room, checking everything inside. After that, he began observing his surroundings and let out a breath of relief because he didn't find a single suspicious thing or person. At least for now. Julio didn't say anything about it because he knew Kai's ability. A few minutes later, a staff member pushed open the door, stretching his hand and asking the two people in front of her to come in. Kai already knew the second person since she had bothered him during the vacation. It was none other than Sophia. Meanwhile, he looked at the middle-aged man beside her with curiosity. According to Julio, this man was Julia's father, Peter. He said he would handle Peter, so he didn't need to worry about this person. Julio smiled and walked toward Peter. Nice to meet you, Mr. Peter. I am looking forward to our negotiation today. Peter nodded and shook his hand. Julio then went towards Sophia and gently said, I am honored to see the rumored Sophia Campbell. Listening to your name is like thunder reverberating on one's ear. Fufu, I can't handle such praise, Mr. Julio. Julio then shifted to the side and introduced Kai. He is our Kai Carter. I was surprised to hear Miss Sophia want to meet him in the process. He didn't forget to add ours in Kai's introduction, as if telling them, you can't snatch him from us. I should be the one to say that I was surprised. I never thought that the US base would make an exception for a student to get an army rank. It made me curious to see the person in question. Sophia ignored the hidden meaning and looked at Kai. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Since he had decided to delete the footage about her in Miami, he also followed along, acting as if he met her for the first time. Nonetheless, everyone in the room knew that Sophia had already met him in Miami. Peter knew about it from his country, while Julio looked at the report of the invasion. Julio noticed this as well, and decided to move on to the topic. Anyway, I believe we should continue our negotiation since it will be a long one. Agreed. Peter nodded. All of them sat on the couch and started discussing the topic. We will bring a few specialists and 100 exoskeletons. The specialists will be there to customize the exoskeletons for your elites. In exchange, we will have 15 people from our base to have zodiac blood injected into their bodies. If they fail, we will have them die and handle their cremation before bringing their ashes back to our base. Every person from our base already knows about this, and they are prepared to put their lives on the line. Peter concluded the meeting after a few hours. Yes, the details are inside our contract. Julio confirmed everything. He was a bit sensitive about the condition of the new Zodiac subjects because he didn't want to allow Peter to bring back their corpses. The EU base might even use those as a way to recreate the Zodiac blood. However, you need to take a note that this will last for a few months, considering we will train your elites, inject the blood, and have them accustomed to it. I understand I will leave everything to the US base's hand. After confirming everything in the contract, Julio's expression then turned grim. He narrowed his eyes and looked at Peter. Now that we have finished this matter, how about we discuss the matter that happened a few days ago? I heard that Miss Sophia snuck in and somehow ended up inside a battle. Peter and Sophia furrowed their eyebrows as they had predicted this would come. Rather than talking about that, how about we discuss the achievement of our Sophia Campbell? After all, she contributed so much in that battle, allowing the battle to take place according to your Kai Carter's plan. First of all, he created an ice wall to trap the enemies. Secondly, he also helped Lion and Eagle groups to rescue Evan Young from the enemy's hand. Last but not least, she helped the battle against the SSS rank Magical Beast and his water elemental, giving you precious time. She even helped in the last strike where Kai Carter killed the Protector. Peter didn't want to lose this argument and opened Sophia's achievement in the last battle. The plan can be easily changed. Instead of a bell-shaped wall, we can simply use a V-shaped wall even without her help. Nothing much will change. On the other hand, I don't think we needed her help in the second matter, because Rhea Ross had made her appearance at that time, and this also included the third matter. If we call Rhea Ross, we wouldn't need her. It was only because she snuck inside Miami that she stumbled upon the battle. Even without her, our victory was nothing but assured. Julio snorted, turning the situation around. Peter also knew this information from Sophia. However, Sophia also added another useful information about this, and Peter knew it was the time to release it. How about we ask Kai Carter himself? I heard that your teammates actually forgot to inform you that Rhea Ross entered the battle. If that was the case, her help was nothing but desirable. I would say this to you. She always acted with her instinct, and it would always be right. In the second matter, it was only due to her instinct that the two groups could locate the enemy's camp. In other words, I could only say you refused to accept that her action actually gave you a helping hand. Peter narrowed his eyes. See stared. Bilio and Peter began arguing after that. The intensity was not less than the previous argument, where they were discussing the contract. We won't be able to come to a conclusion with this kind of conversation, Peter panted after talking for so long. He decided to conclude the meeting. I have a suggestion about this matter. No matter what we say, we admit that Sophia Campbell was indeed at fault. That's why we will let her become a transfer student in your magic school for a whole year. This is a good idea, considering the school will have a new semester in 2 months. Indeed, Julio also thought it was a good idea. During her stay, they could do many things to entice Sophia to stay in this base. Still, you can't deny that her presence helped the battle. Hence, Kai Carter must come to our base as an exchange student. Unlike our Sophia Campbell, we will just have him for 3 months. In addition, we will also provide him with a customized exoskeleton for himself. Julio's expression turned serious when Kai's name was mentioned. Chapter 2-3 Kai's condition. Julio's expression turned serious when Kai's name was mentioned. This was a sensitive topic for the higher-up in the base, so he couldn't treat this lightly. Meanwhile, Peter trusted Sophia's instinct, especially when she brought the matter herself. Like how the EU base trusted her instinct, he decided to bring the proposal to the base and got the approval almost immediately. However, Kai didn't have such trust from the US base because his ability was elsewhere. That was why Julio needed permissions first. He thought for a moment. Compared to Sophia's 1-year enrollment, Kai only needed to attend their military school for 3 months, and he would even get a customized exoskeleton from them. I have a condition. Julio narrowed his eyes and continued. I would like for him to be accompanied by his group. Peter widened his eyes, not expecting this suggestion. He fell into deep thought while stroking his chin. On one hand, if I allow this, we will have the chance to entice the entire team. According to Sophia, Evan Young won't be swayed by this because Isabel Fisher is in this base. However, the rest of the group is his harem. So if we can entice Kai to stay in EU base, we might be able to get the others. Nonetheless, they are still 2 S-rank magicians and 1 Zodiac. We can even entice them first and get Kai Carter. On the other hand, Sophia might not be able to get closer to him. It's like that matters though, since we are fine as long as he joins the base. What we should be wary about is the fact that the girls are harder to entice, especially that Michelle Graham. They might get in our way of persuading him. This is something that we don't want to see. As expected, I can't allow this one since the cons outweigh the pros. Peter took a deep breath and said, "Rejected. We let our Sophia enroll alone, so I hope you can do the same for Kai Carter." At the same time, unlike this base, exoskeleton users usually fight alone. Since Kai Carter is new to everything there, we can let him operate together with Sophia. Besides, we have given him a customized exoskeleton for him. Together with the time limit, I believe we should be the one to add another condition. Julio narrowed his eyes. Ho. What condition are you talking about? Make an exception for Sophia and let her join the Lion Group as the 6th member. Julio gritted his teeth and clenched his fists before he thought it wasn't that bad at all. Now that I think about it, if we let them have close contact, she might have some attachments to Kai Carter himself. Although there is a risk, I believe this is worth a shot. When both of them discussed something like this, Kai was fuming in anger inside. He screamed inwardly, "Are you treating me like an object here? Are you serious? I have never thought of myself as a part of the US base nor EU base. I can live anywhere as long as my family is there as well. So, it doesn't really matter where I stay. Besides, if I go according to this plan, I will also get a personalized exoskeleton. I can't say I'm not interested in it. Additional strength is welcomed, especially with my enemy's power and how Tasha will soon release her limiter. 1 year and 3 months, huh?" As they kept negotiating about it, Kai suddenly stated, "I will agree to this. However, I also have a condition myself." Peter and Julio stopped and glanced at him. They realized they were too excited talking about it, and the content might hurt him a bit, so they let him talk. "Please tell us. Aside from my personal exoskeleton, I want another 4 exoskeletons. Considering you are trading me here, each base should give me 2 exoskeletons each, and it should be in advance." His voice was filled with resolve, making it hard to reject. Kai didn't ask an excessive amount. He simply asked 4 exoskeletons for his girls, including Sakura. On the other hand, Peter and Julio thought that the exoskeletons were for the girls and Evan. Looking at his friendship, they knew if they managed to entice Kai and established a relationship with him, he wasn't someone ungrateful. This was indeed a huge enticement for both of them. As expected, I would need to call my boss for this. Peter sighed. "If you don't mind, I can talk with them now and ask, how about it?" Kai nodded. Peter then stood up and grabbed Sophia to ask her opinion. "I also need to call the president and my boss." Julio let out a long sigh. He was talking about the future here, so he couldn't be a cheapskate, or he would leave the US base. Julio also stood up, calling the Minister of Defense and the President. Without even them coming back, Kai already knew the result from Julio. However, Peter and Sophia were sneaky as they contacted their base without talking. In other words, Kai didn't know what kind of conclusion they arrived at. After waiting for a few minutes, everyone returned to the room. Peter agreed to Kai's condition before Julio said anything. "We are fine with your condition as long as you join one of the battles as our strategist. My boss is curious about your ability, so that's the only condition. Of course, we will do the fighting unless you choose to participate yourself." "I understand. I am fine with it." Kai nodded. On the other hand, Julio reworded what he wanted to say in his mind to make it more acceptable for Kai. "As a citizen in US base, the president will award you 2 exoskeletons. After all, your group is at the center of attention right now. Since we can't customize the exoskeletons, you need to finish it before the group from the EU base return. At the same time, we can't give you the exoskeletons yet, because we want to prioritize the other fighters to have them first. This will be a complicated problem, because you are still a student that will take a mission only once a month. I know. I don't want to rush it as well." Kai nodded. In fact, he wanted to keep this a secret at first, so the girls could focus on their training instead of the exoskeletons. "If you're fine with it, then we will handle everything for you." Julio nodded with a smile. Meanwhile, Peter used this chance to add another thing. "We are the same. As long as you need the exoskeletons to be ready, just ask one of our specialists to customize it for you. It will be our priority. If they are unable to handle your request, we will send another one for you." Peter and Julio glared at each other with a sly grin. There was a spark between their eyes, clashing with each other. Kai let out a breath of relief. He didn't like how they were trying to take advantage of him, so he would also take a bit of it. At the very least, he could strengthen the girls. If he asked for a ridiculous request, they would reject him, and might even think of him as an uncontrollable person. In that case, there might be a chance for both bases to send an assassin to kill him, or the situation in United Asia would take place again. At that time, he wouldn't have any places to stay unless he forced his way back to United Asia. However, Ayaka's new Kudo group, or Michelle's Graham family, might get caught in the flame. He needed to get stronger first before he rejected them. Peter then stood up and stretched his hand toward him. Kai subconsciously shook his hand, never expecting Peter would shake his hand first instead of Julio. Truly a remarkable youngster. We are looking forward to your visit next year. Peter smiled like an old fox. He had two reasons for letting Kai come to their base 1 year later. First, he could let Sophia see what kind of person Kai is and his abilities. They wouldn't want to have him if he turned out to be a fake that US base made. If everything were true, they would then have a long time to prepare. These two reasons were the most logical ones they could choose on the spot, showing him that they didn't have anything to hide and genuinely wanted him to come. On the other hand, US base seemed to be the losing one here because they couldn't be compared to what EU base promised him. After a series of handshakes between each party, they ended the meeting. When they left the room, Sophia asked to talk with him alone as a talk between two juniors. Fufu, you are really interesting. Sophia suddenly came to him with a smile. What are you talking about? Kai played dumb. You know that you can't avoid it, so you are trying to get your share. Now that I think about it, how much resources we need to give you if you decide to come? Sophia smirked, looking at Kai excitedly. I just don't like how they treated me as a trade object. Since I can only accept that, I would rather be an agent instead of an object. Kai shook his head. Thus, the pay for an agent. Trying to work your words, eh? Kai shrugged. Anyway, I am looking forward to working with you as a member of the Lion Group. Don't worry, I will be obedient there. It's a pity, Kai chuckled. Sophia narrowed her eyes, staring at Kai as if asking for an explanation. Nothing, you will know it later. Kai shrugged and left the room. Just make sure you don't piss your pants when that happens. Haha. Chapter 224. Anthony Graham. That's how it is. Kai rested his head on the table, saying nonchalantly, the girls and Evan couldn't say anything after listening to his story. After getting an agreement with the people, Sophia decided to return to the EU base, leaving Julia together with the other Zodiac subjects. She was going to prepare everything for the next 2 months, where she enrolled in the Magic Academy. This is going to be troublesome. Evan sighed. Kai shrugged as he already decided to do it. Of course, he didn't tell the girls about their exoskeletons, so they only knew that he would most likely get an exoskeleton, increasing his strength even further. What can we do other than accept it? Michelle thought for a moment and said, besides, the mission gives you the exoskeleton. If I am not wrong, there will be another big mission not long after we become second-year students. That's right, it's the raid mission. Albeit, I don't think I can tell anyone about this until I receive permission from Sir Nathan. Kai shrugged. Seeing the raid mission come this soon? Tasha narrowed her eyes as the girls' expressions turned serious. They needed to speed everything a bit. There is nothing for us to do anyway, so it's better to increase our training in the meantime. Ayaka let out a long sigh. Evan looked down as if he gathered his resolve before he stared at Kai for a minute. Do you need anything from me? Kai asked. If you don't mind, I would like you to teach me how to fight in close combat. I don't really have any special weapons, so I think I will do it with my fists. Ho! Kai smirked, planning to tease him since he must want to increase his strength because of Isabel. However, the thought disappeared the moment he saw his determined expression. Sure, I will be your practice partner. I don't really have any advice about this, since I am using swords, but I know you will improve as long as we keep fighting. Besides, I also need someone to test my new magic, and with your healing ability, isn't this perfect? If you don't mind being my punching bag, sure, I will do it. Haha, this is give and take. I have taken your time by asking you to train me. That's why I will also be your training partner. I will do it. Evan laughed and shook Kai's hand with a serious expression. Then, it's a deal. Kai nodded with a smile. I don't know if you have known this, but the school doesn't have a vacation, Michelle suddenly interrupted them. I know. We are a kind of soldier, so it's normal to not have a vacation like this unless we apply for it or something special happens. Luckily, the school gives us a rest period of 2 months where we don't need to go on a mission. Kai recalled the guidebook about the school and nodded. Seeing that we have fought in Miami, the school makes an exception and treats that one as our mission this month. In other words, June and July will be the perfect time to get stronger. That's good. All of them shouted in unison, pumping their fists. Now that I think about it, Tasha's and Evan's birthday is coming soon, right? Kai glanced at both of them. Do you want anything? Ah, this is not a question for Evan. Well, we'll just buy a movie ticket for a couple. He didn't forget to add another teasing in his serious question. Oi. Evan looked away with a tinge red on his cheek. He always thought about Isabel first, but after the battle, they had a good talk. At that time, he realized that he never considered Isabel's feelings in his actions and felt guilty. That was why he started becoming conscious of this girl, and Kai couldn't help but tease him. On the other hand, Tasha grinned as if she had a perfect wish. I also want something like Michelle. I mean, she got a date with you for a whole day, so I also want the same. Is that all? You can ask me anything. Kai tilted his head in confusion. Fufu, that is all. Tasha smiled gently. I just want to spend time with you alone. Is that not possible? If that is what you want, sure, I will make time on that day. Great. Tasha pumped her fists before she smirked at Ayaka and Michelle. That's right. I will also request the medicine from Professor Ria. Michelle and Ayaka realized her plans and stood up. Michelle even slammed the table and shouted, That's not fair, I didn't go all the way back then. Meanwhile, Ayaka looked away and muttered to herself, My birthday is coming soon as well. Last year was a hell mess, so I forgot my birthday. She kept glancing at Kai, embarrassed to say her request out loud. Kai gently smiled. Well, I will simply make space on that day. It's nothing to worry about. That's right, my brother will be born soon. I think it's after Tasha's birthday, Michelle added with a pout. I think you want to come with me to the hospital and meet my parents. Of course. Kai nodded. He is my brother-in-law soon, and he even saves me from trouble in Graham family. True enough still, to think you have become bolder. Michelle made a smug face. Kai shrugged. The group chatted for another half an hour before they started doing their own training. When June came, Evan's birthday came, and he, of course, spent it with Isabel. Tasha's birthday also came 2 weeks after. Kai accompanied her from morning to night, from house to hotel, from happy to super happy. It was already rare for them to enjoy their day like this due to their current situation, especially since Kai sometimes got flocked by people, as expected from the little hero of US base. In the end, Kai decided to go in disguise, making sure that they had no problem spending their day in leisure. On the other hand, Michelle and Ayaka didn't really care about this, respecting each other. It wasn't like they were not jealous of seeing something like this. They simply knew that Kai wouldn't differentiate them from their status. The only thing they could do was to make sure he didn't have too many women, making their private time with him lesser and lesser. Their training also went pretty well. Evan usually got beaten by Kai and needed to heal himself from time to time. Unlike Ria's ruthless training, Kai only beat Evan black and blue, not killed him. The purpose was just to get him stronger anyway, so Kai proceeded with the training he was comfortable with. Evan could fight back for a few rounds after a full month of training. Kai felt happy as well since he was his teacher. This was the first time he felt like this, and it might also be the reason why Ria always said those words to him. In the end, Evan decided to buy a gauntlet as Kai suggested, and their fight lasted even longer. Although he wouldn't go to the front line himself, it was still necessary to know fighting skills to protect himself. In July, Kai rushed to the hospital, along with the girl after getting the news from Michelle's father, Uncle. Kai ran toward him without creating a loud noise. He had been trained. Oh, your group is the last one. Michael tried to keep calm. However, Kai knew that he was clenching his fist on the back, and his heart beat rapidly. That's right. If possible, I want you to give me a name for my child. My wife and I have talked about it. Since he is going to replace your position as the family head of my Graham family, you are responsible for giving him a name. Besides, with your age difference, it feels weird to see him calling you brother instead of uncle. Michael let out a long sigh. Kai's response was unexpected. He stared at Michael like looking at a fool. Are you sure you want me to give him a name? I mean, my naming skill sucks. Michael suddenly fell into silence, looking at Michelle for confirmation. His naming skill is simple, and it sucks because of that. Michelle shrugged. I don't think my little brother will like his name. Michael scratched his head, not knowing what to do. Since he had given the opportunity to Kai, he decided to hear his opinion first. Anyway, how about giving a name suggestion? I will think about whether I will give it to him or not. Kai thought for a moment and said, since Sir's name is Michael and your daughter is also from Michelle, how about Manly? I hope he can be manly in the future. Michael was stupefied while Michelle had the urge to laugh. She said, this is why you are never matched against Mother. What do you mean? I have talked to Mother about this and prepared another name. Knowing your personality, you must haven't thought of a single name for my brother. She shook her head in disappointment. Michael couldn't say anything as she was right. He always thought that this was a great idea, considering Kai would be his brother-in-law. His name is Anthony Graham. Mother and I thought that. He is our priceless one, thus his name. That's a good name. Kai also approved. It's far better than mine, I know. Just look at your magics, sound blast, lullaby, and other things. Oh, Michelle teased him before a loud crying noise echoed through the hallway. All of them widened their eyes and rushed inside the room. Chapter 225. The Student Council. As soon as they heard the baby's crying sound, they stormed inside the room as they found the doctor carrying the baby and cleaning him up. Ooh, Michael couldn't help but pump his fist and roar. Congratulations, Father. Congratulations, Sir Michael. Kai and Michelle smiled, looking at the little guy over there before realizing that Nathan was nowhere to be found. They thought he would be the most excited one to see this little guy, but it seemed they were wrong. By the way, where is Sir Nathan? Kai whispered to avoid disturbing the lady and the baby. He has something to do, so I'm going to film this and send it to him. Michael shrugged before he went to the doctor and carried the baby to Michelle's mother, Daisy Graham. Look at this little guy. He will surely be a hero in the future. Daisy gently smiled, even though she was very tired. Have Michelle told you about his name? Yes, I am sorry to think my plan is. Michael didn't continue since Kai was still there. Foo-foo. Daisy shook her head. It's fine. In fact, I've got the inspiration from you. Looking at how you treasure Kai, I know that we, including Michelle, will treasure this little guy too. That's why his name is the priceless one, Anthony. Michael smiled and softly hugged her together with the baby. Daisy glanced at Kai and Michelle. You two should try to carry him too. To his dismay, Michael decided to let go. Michelle carried him gently, like how her mother taught her, followed by Kai. Unfortunately, Tasha and Ayaka decided to not join because this was a happy time for Graham family, so it was better for them to wait for another few days. Meanwhile, Kai spent the rest of the day with Graham family, welcoming the little guy with warmth. A few weeks later, on the last day of the month, graduation finally arrived. Michelle brought Kai to meet with the student council to watch them one last time. As expected, the student council president gave the graduation speech with Mia as the female representative. Because of this, the student council would reshuffle as the new student council would take over the job. As for who would replace the current student council, no one knew. Kai Carter. I want you to be the next student council president. Seeing your prestige in the base and the school, no one will dare to steal the seat from you, I believe. After the ceremony ended, the former president came to him together with his friends. That's right. With Michelle as your vice president, I believe there won't be any problem. Mia smiled. It's not my position, and it won't ever be. Kai's answer was very different from their expectation, but none of them had a big reaction as if they had expected this. Well, I also never expected you would accept. I was just kidding, to be honest. If you accepted, it would be great. But if not, then who cares? The president shrugged, brushing the matter off. That's right. Who cares about the student council? Michelle pouted. Actually, that's what I want to know. As you know, that with the third year graduating today, there will be a huge difference in the school ranking, especially among the top 100. I have read the statistics for one last time, and you will become one of the top 10 groups despite completing a few missions. If I am not wrong, it should be 7th, right, Mia? He glanced at his vice president. Yes. After losing to you, the Eagle group also has recovered and will soon become the sixth, one rank after you. I know that you won't care about this, but I believe there are many second years that set their eyes on your team. Mia nodded with a grim expression. Trouble again, huh? Kai sighed. I have many problems right now and don't think I will care about other students, including the student council. Thought so. Still, there are 3 candidates that might aim for my seat. They are coming from 3 top groups. No, maybe they are the new top 3 groups in the school now. The former second rank group, Golden. The former 5th, Thunder group. And the last group is the former 10th, Slayer group. Looking at these 3, the Slayer's group leader, Maddox, won't be able to compete with the 2. After all, he is known as someone scary even in the second year. It will be hard for him to gain votes from the students. Meanwhile, that Thunder group's Xavier falls short against the Golden group's Janessa. Michelle thought for a moment before saying, why does the change in the student council affect our group? Kai frowned as he didn't understand the school system. He understood that there would be a reshuffle among the group, because the group with third-year students would either get their points reset or disband entirely. You are too focused on the matter outside the school. You know that I have been protecting you from making sure that the previous number 1 group, Dawn, to stop challenging you. You might not know this, but that's the real situation. The president shook his head and sighed. Kai stared at him to check whether he was lying or not. He had been asking me to force the Lion group to fight the Dawn group. Of course, I rejected him all the time. That's why you have a leisure school life. If the new student council takes over, your peace might be disturbed. Let's see. I can give you missions from time to time, especially a hard mission. This will create big trouble for you, but yeah, it will also create big trouble for me, considering the Graham family and Rhea Ross stay by your side. However, there is more than I can do that can disturb you without annoying those 2. That's why you should be ready. The president let out a long sigh and patted his shoulders. Kai widened his eyes slightly. He knew that the student councils often said his name in their meeting, but he never paid attention to it. On the other hand, if what he heard was true, he will need some preparations to ensure the student council doesn't mess with him. In any case, Janessa will probably become the next student council. As for her identity, I think you should ask Michelle about it. Kai tilted his head and glanced at Michelle. Do you remember General Ethan in Cuba? Michelle asked. Yeah, I do remember that battle is a mess. Kai nodded before he realized something. Does he have a son or daughter in this school? No, I should say daughter, huh? Correct. Janessa is his daughter. Well, I have some contact with her considering Sir Ethan is my grandfather's best friend. However, if you want some information, I think you should ask Tommy from Isabel's group. What is his relationship? Kai furrowed his eyebrows. Don't you think that it is strange that Tommy joins Isabel's group as the last guy? And there are more, but I will list them for you at a later date. I only want you to know that he might become the vice president of the student council. Kai thought for a moment and asked, is she his sister or something? Hearing this topic, Evan thought of something brilliant. He could direct his embarrassment by using a scapegoat, so he said, Close. They are engaged. Ethan and Tommy's father are comrades in arms, and they have promised to marry them since both of them reached 3-star general. Well, the situation is pretty complicated, but we have a kind of relationship with the Eagle group, so she might pull some strings on us in the future. That's not a good idea. As much as I want to get shocked by the news, I should think about what I need to do from now on. Kai sighed. Yeah, well, judging from Tommy's character, he might oppose this. He also doesn't want to join the student council. That's why I'm afraid that Tommy won't have the power to resist her. She sighed. I won't pry about their private matters. What I want to know is how they will affect us, so I can create a countermeasure for this. Actually, there is no need to do that. She will need around 2 or 3 months before the school starts to accept them as the new student council. After all, they want to confirm whether this student council sent the students to their deaths or not. That's why you have another few months to do something about it. As for what to do, the only way is to talk with her. The president let out a sigh. I still have time to do it then. Kai nodded. Do you mean the raid mission? The president asked. It's true that she won't try to pull some tricks behind your back for these few months, but you should still keep a watch against her. I am not saying she is a fool or not. It's just hard to see her real intent. Anyway, just keep a watch against her so she won't bite you. She was the one that tried to replace me when I was in charge, after all. With your prestige, you are a threat. It won't be too much, but it won't be too light either. I know I will do anything I can in these few months. Kai nodded. Finally, the talk was over, and the rest of the group returned. The new semester started, and Kai got to be in the same class as Ayaka and Michelle, albeit that joy didn't last long because they had a transfer student. It was a white-haired beauty comparable to Michelle. She smiled brightly and introduced herself. I am Sophia Campbell. Nice to meet you. Good, sit on wherever you want. Sophia smirked as he began walking toward Kai. Chapter 226, Another Raid Mission. I am thrilled to meet all of you. As you already know, I am Sophia Campbell, and I will be joining your group as the special 6th member for a year. Sophia smiled and slightly raised her skirt as a greeting. They were inside room 420, where they always met. After that annoying introduction, the class created an uproar, especially around Kai, so they decided to take this talk elsewhere. Tasha could imagine what happened earlier. Let me see. If I am transferring at this time, I will sit around you. Left and right is not possible because of Michelle and Ayaka, so front or behind. Which one is it? Behind, Michelle answered with a cold voice. Now that she became a second year, Michelle and Ayaka had the chance to be in the same class, but Sophia ruined it all. Many people must come to her place with great interest, more than Ayaka and me. Kai doesn't really have that much trouble because Michelle is calming down the crowd. However, Sophia will cause a big one because she is already famous in the EU base. And before she spouts any nonsense, it's better to clarify with her first. So, you bring her here. Tasha placed her hand on her cheek and rested it on the table. Yeah, I need to discuss what she can disclose or not since I don't want any trouble. Kai nodded. I have told you guys about this before, and now that she joins this group, do you have an opinion? Just make sure that she is not disturbing everyone with some random stuff. Evan was the first to raise his hand. I know that this will be Captain's love nest, but you should also look at our teacher. She is ready to kill you. Sanae grabbed his head and smiled. You little brat. What did you say? Did you say, I don't have a boyfriend? I didn't say anything, ma'am. I apologize for my rude behavior. Evan immediately bowed his head. You can only say this because you now become conscious about that little girl. Now I wonder whether you will choose to leave this group. Well, if that happens, this group will truly become Kai's love nest. Maybe I should join as well. Look at him. Even though he is not rich, there are still the Graham family and Kudo group behind him. If we also calculate his childhood sweetheart, and this new girl EU base and Yajima family will join the fray. After that, I still need to calculate his military rank and exploit. I think he will soon become a rich guy as well. Still, I can't stand how… Wait, I should also tell this to the new girl. Sane realized something and walked towards Sophia, grabbing her shoulder. I need to warn you about one thing. What is it, teacher? Sophia tilted her head in confusion. This is the only reason why I choose to put him on my blacklist. Sanae's expression turned serious. He is a problem magnet, and you are also one of the problems. What do you mean? Sophia blinked her eyes a few times, confused. Sanae ignored her words because she recalled another thing. Now that I think about this, I don't know if I should pity you or not since this is your decision. Anyway, just good luck, and try to enjoy your stay. She completely said the same thing as Kai back in the conference. These words always occupied her mind because she didn't understand what Kai meant. Before she could say another thing, the door was pushed open by an old man. Yo, little brats, how are you? Do you miss me? It's a shame that I can't join the previous happy occasion, Sir Nathan. Kai sighed. Just as Sanae told her about the problem magnet, one of the problems just came to him. I have a mission for you guys. Well, it's for all since this is a raid mission for your second year. Nathan grinned before leaping toward Kai and Michelle. Oh, my granddaughter and grandson-in-law, I am sorry that I couldn't see little Anthony together with you. Their expressions were distorted as they were holding their anger. Kai let out a long sigh and asked, Is this going to be the S-rank magical beast, correct? Nathan nodded before noticing the new girl. Heh, to think I can see a thieving cat from the EU base. Sophia's eyebrows twitched as she forced a smile and answered him. I don't know what you are talking about. Besides, I have searched your Graham family background and found a great story behind it. You never approved of Kai Carter, even as your granddaughter's friend in the past, right? Only after Rhea Ross took him in, you decided to let it be. I don't know what should I call you other than a sly old fox. Ho ho. I didn't know what you were talking about. I only approved their relationship because I was moved by their determination and how he changed my granddaughter for the better. Nathan paused for a moment and said, "Isn't the EU base the same? You just can't realize someone's potential unless they are big, unlike me. Well, I am pretty satisfied with this grandson-in-law, and Michelle also loves him, so who cares?" Teach. Sophia clicked her tongue. "I am just thinking about giving him his exoskeleton now. I will just let you steal the show for now since we don't need someone too old here. Better to respect an old person like myself, little girl," Nathan snorted. Before these two could say another word, Kai decided to move on the conversation. "Anyway, Sir Nathan, I think it's better to learn about the mission first. We are going to be pretty busy soon." "Fine." Nathan shrugged and handed him the document. "The mission this time is to kill the last S-rank magical beast that plagues Southern America. It's a Brazilian wandering spider." Michelle and the others widened their eyes while Kai squinted his eyes as he took the document. "When? Probably October. There are some characteristics that we need to adjust. First of all, we are going in October because we don't want a spider to sneak among the trees. As you know, those areas are pretty awful with trees everywhere. That's why we will wait until fall. Its size is around a small car, so I don't think it will be able to sneak attack us if there is no hiding spot. The problem will be its children. We have spotted several children the size of 2 humans, although their power isn't that big, only at B or A rank magical beasts. Their poison is dangerous. One bite and you are out." Kai thought for a moment. "I thought they were in Brazil, but that place has been taken over by the army, right?" "Yeah. That's why they moved to the south and reside within Argentina." Nathan nodded. "Anyway, the details are in the documents. We are going to have you as the strategist as well, and because the situation is a bit special, they elevate General Rhea Ross's rank to 5-star, so she will lead this war. There will be 4 4-star generals like me that will accompany you. After all, we won't be dealing with a single S-rank magical beast. There is another major problem." Kai nodded with a solemn expression. "How many magical beasts out there for the base to mobilize 4 generals like that?" "Around 100,000. Each general will have 10,000 soldiers to hold back this army, while Rhea Ross led 100 elites with the lowest are A-rank magicians. Our base has 5 S-rank magicians at the moment, if we include your sister. Only 3 will be mobilized in this mission. In other words, other than Tasha and Michelle, only 1 other guy came. Where are the 2 people then?" Kai couldn't understand. "This is a major event. Back then, they used all 3 S-rank magicians under Rhea's command, but they chose not to this time. It can't be helped. One of them needs to stay inside the base to ensure its safety, while the other needs to take care of the army in the north." Nathan sighed. "That's why they send 4 4-star generals instead of 2. Kai clicked his tongue. He finally understood the reason why they needed to protect their army in Canada and the base itself. There were 2 problems. The first one might be dangerous as well, because they could create zodiacs. In other words, the threat would come from within. Thus the real intent of having 1 S-rank magician to stay inside the base. As for the other one, it was the most important factor in their plan, the protector. Because the government doesn't know where they will be attacked, they decide to station 1 of the S-ranks in Canada, since Southern America is full of soldiers. "Is that right?" Kai asked. "Yeah. If the North doesn't have any protection, they might target them, destroying our progress." Nathan nodded. "How about Graham family's army? Are they staying in the base to protect the potential attack from the sea?" "Basically. But the government has strengthened Cuba, so we should be able to react or at least get some information before everything happens, so we will only be reserves." Kai thought for a moment. "We can't really get more soldiers, can't we?" "Yes, this is the maximum we can get. The danger level might be higher than the previous raid mission, but I will assure you that we have no intention of losing. And because of this, although you are a strategist, your rank is still far below the others, so proceed carefully." "I understand. I will see what I can do. I will also talk about it with teacher. Kai sighed. To think that teacher can become a marshal. This is the title that can be received when the base makes a war. I think this might be our biggest battle. Chapter 227, Another Problem. All right, on to the second matter. Nathan nodded and sent another document for him. As you might already know, you are going to be included in the roster for the elites that were going to fight the S-rank magical beast. There are a few more students that will participate in this. They are Tasha, Michelle, and Isabel Ayaka, and Evan are going to join my army. Ayaka looked down as she glanced at Tasha and Michelle with disappointment. It seemed that she didn't have the strength to follow Kai. Nathan obviously knew how it felt to be left behind. Hence, he smiled and patted her shoulder. I know it's disheartening, but if you come to my army, I will let you join the higher up. Although you can only watch there, you will understand how the army works, and I hope in the future you can also mobilize the army yourself, not as a lone fighter but a commander. Ayaka looked up and widened her eyes. She also felt the hidden meaning behind his word, which was the position of commander under Kai. This word indeed raised her spirit again as she bowed her head. Thank you for having me. Sure. Nathan nodded with a smile before glancing at Evan. As for you, it's fine if you stay in the back, right? Well, I have gotten permission to let Eagle Group work under me. Although you can't see her most of the time, she should regroup after defeating the spider. After all, fighting an S-rank magical beast is much faster than destroying 100,000 army. I understand. It's not like I want her beside me all the time since she will nag me all the time. Evan shrugged. After this much talk, Sophia suddenly realized why Kai and Sanai said those mysterious words. She glanced at them, asking for explanations, albeit the two only shrugged, confirming her confusion with their action. Nathan noticed her expression and made a smug smile. If this young lady wants to watch from the sideline, it's fine for us. After all, the contract says you can choose to participate or not after seeing the mission yourself. This is not me provoking you. Sophia gritted her teeth. To think that she would need to join this battle. This was outside of her calculation. Since the mission came this early, she had no choice but to participate because Kai would look down on her. If it had come a bit later, she could have deepened her relationship first before making some excuses. Whether this was planned or not, she had truly been had. She smiled with a dark expression. Of course, I will join. Then, I welcome you to my army. Nathan smirked, as if everything was going according to his plan. Chia, Sophia clicked her tongue. Please be ready to get dispatched at all times, all right. After all, Kai is in his training to become a young general. Of course, the mission difficulty is far greater than the normal students do, so you should be prepared. Nathan paused for a moment. If you feel you can't keep up, you are free to leave the group. I will use my connection to have you change the group for this 1-year period. Sophia was speechless. The US base knew how important Kai was to both bases along with her strength, and they were planning to have her assist him in this training and raise his ranks even further. This way, it will be harder to convince Kai to move. Sophia gritted his teeth, knowing she couldn't do anything. I understand. I have prepared myself for something like this. Nathan grinned before he received a message. He took out his device as his expression turned serious the moment he read the short message. Sir Nathan. Kai furrowed his eyebrows. Kai, call your teacher later. Nathan sighed and scratched his head, feeling troubled. As much as I want to talk with you, it seems I need to go back. Without waiting for anyone to answer, he dashed to the door and left the room. Kai was amused and confused at the same time, wondering what kind of problem he had. He was wondering whether his teacher wanted him to call her was related to this matter. Before that, Sophia decided to change the topic as she continued after a long sigh. Anyway, I will be with you guys for a year. You can call me Sophia to make it not awkward. And now I understand what kind of problem I get into. Well, good luck. Sanai didn't have anything to say other than these 2 words. I know that you think this is absurd, but you should research your opponent first. Kai shrugged. Besides, I have warned you months ago, so yeah, good luck. Sophia took another deep breath to calm her down before saying, for now, I have a gift for you guys. You can treat it as my way to show my appreciation for this group. She took a few bottles from her bag and handed it to Sanai teacher. I have heard that you love wine, so I brought you the finest wine from EU base. I hope you like it. Sophia blinked her eyes a few seconds before patting her shoulder with a smile. You are really a good child. Now I pity you to experience all this. She then took a pair of shoes and gave it to Evan. This can help increase your mobility. You can try it later and get accustomed to it. As for Michelle and Ayaka, she gave them some fancy clothes. She didn't know what kind of thing they liked, so she chose whatever she could find. It was different for Tasha. She immediately handed a stack of presents for her, from clothes to a weapon. This is a bow created by exoskeleton technology. The performance is top-notch, whether it's from magic efficiency and power. Besides, you can attach this to an exoskeleton itself. Of course, without an exoskeleton, this can act like a glove. For example, if you activate this, your left hand will be covered with an exoskeleton. You can even take a blow with this, so I think this will improve your performance. Tasha was Kai's elder sister, so there was no way she would treat her like the others. On the other hand, Tasha didn't know whether to accept this or not until Kai nodded to her. Seeing she accepted the gifts, Sophia smiled. She was also a bit curious how powerful her real power is, but she felt she wouldn't be able to see it anytime soon. If she calculated this problem and that third party, it wouldn't be wise to use that power until the situation forced her. However, she didn't get disheartened. Knowing that she had the same fire as Kai after giving everyone, she then gave the last present for Kai. It was a necklace with a silver ball hanging on it. This is your exoskeleton. We have customized it for you according to your body measurement and other things that I can't speak about. Of course, this is based on our data. If you don't mind, please try it first and check whether there is a discomfort or not. Kai nodded and stared at this necklace for a moment before he decided to wear it. What should I do now? Just channel your magic power into that necklace. It will scan your body and summon the exoskeleton. Kai then walked toward an empty space. He took another glimpse at his group's expression, knowing they were curious about it. I will start then. Kai closed his eyes and channeled his magic power. Suddenly, he felt like ants were walking all over his body before he felt metals wrapping his body. He widened his eyes and raised his hand, opening his eyes to look at this new exoskeleton. Many metal words were covering his entire body, including his legs. This exoskeleton is designed to increase your power even further and have the capability of defending an attack. Is there any discomfort at the moment? Like maybe the suit is too small for you, or some rods are tickling you? No, I don't have any discomfort at the moment. Kai shook his head. How about fighting me once to test this exoskeleton and see if there is some part that hinders you? Sophia asked. Well, I am also curious about you, so I want to experience your strength myself. It's two birds in one stone. Sure, but I will need to call my teacher first. Kai accepted it while adding inwardly, I will only try the close combat though. Besides, it's not like I can hide my strength for an entire year. All right. Sophia nodded with a smile as she wrapped everything and put her bag aside. Kai then left the room, headed toward the roof, and called his teacher. Yo, how are you? Have the message been delivered? And how is that Sophia doing in your group? I am fine, and I have received the message from Sir Nathan. As for Sophia Campbell, I pity her since she will soon have her very first raid mission, not long after she enrolls at our school. Haha, that's good then. Just let that girl suffer, so we can know her real intention. Kai paused for a moment and asked, Do you have a problem, teacher? It's not necessarily my problem, but the entire base's problem. She paused for a moment and asked, Do you remember I gave you a name not long ago, the one that wanted to kill you? All right, I understand. He escapes, right? Kai sighed. Yeah, I have told you that he had escaped 2 months ago. However, it turned out he has a few subordinates in the research center itself, and they did something ridiculous. What is that? They have created zodiacs and have them escape. Do you want me to search for them? That's not the main problem. Then what? Kai frowned. That problem was already big enough, and yet it wasn't the main problem. They created those zodiacs with the blood of SSS rank magical beast, Thud. Chapter 228. Ria's Mission Thud. The news stupefied Kai for a few seconds before he screamed, What did you say? You didn't hear it wrong. After that bastard escaped, he seemed to have smuggled a few samples of SSS rank magical beast, the blood from the one we fought in the underground nest. I think his subordinates used some of them to create 3 zodiacs, while he himself still holds some. Rhea let out a long sigh. How about the current condition? Where are they? Looking at how close this timing with the raid mission is, it will become another trouble that we need to worry about. I have once thought that the threat of normal zodiacs is already high enough. What kind of effect does the blood give? I am experimenting with it right now, but from what I can see, it is the same as a normal zodiac blood. Rhea paused for a moment, changing her tone. But you should know what kind of power this protector had. Kai drew a cold breath while listening to her serious tone. He knew exactly what the blood granted. Strong body, or I can say indestructible body, along with element manipulation. That's right. Although I can't say anything about it, the security camera managed to capture some scenes. Their skins became stronger than ever, and their strength is stronger than yours probably. But as expected, the element manipulation is the most troublesome. Although they can only control water, they controlled the water inside the research center and blew the pipe, causing a huge stir in that place. That's why they could escape in the first place. Kai's expression turned grim. Where are they? Considering the mastermind of this accident, I'm sure they will attack us in the raid mission. Is there any plan for this? There is no other plan. We have been preparing this mission for a long time, so it's not like we can back away. Nathan should have told you the change of plan and how many people we will bring. Right? I see. Now that I think about it, I had researched Teacher's record when you fought the S-rank magical beast. It turned out that there were only 60,000 monsters coming. However, Sir Nathan said we need 40,000 people to hold 100,000. In other words, the remaining will come from either this Matt person or the Protector itself. Kai stroked his chin, wondering what he should do. That's why I want you to come to meet me, so we can discuss this plan. Of course, in my house, we will hold the meeting 2 times. The first time is only with me, while the second time with all those old-timers. Don't worry. If they flaunt their seniority, I will flaunt my strength. I understand. When do I need to meet you? Kai asked. I have a mission for you. You will leave tomorrow. Understood, but teacher, you haven't answered my question. We are going to meet a week after that. The same applies to next month. Kai thought for a moment. All right, I will keep it in mind. What is the mission? There are 3 people escaping right now. However, we have managed to heavily injure one of them, so he wouldn't be able to escape that far. Do you want to take advantage of my hearing? Not really. You should know that sometimes monsters went past the front line, right? There is an influx of monsters in a certain region currently, so there will be a high chance to be in that place. Still, how many monsters do we need to fight? Kai frowned. If they needed to kill a few hundred monsters just for this, it wasn't worth it. You only need to kill 1. This is my mission. Assassinate the guy with your group alone. With your hearing and Sophia's instinct, I believe you can locate him in no time. As for those magical beasts, I will send you a reinforcement. I will give you a coordinate and meet them in that place. All right then, since teacher is taking care of this, I will follow your plan. Major, Lieutenant Colonel, Colonel, and Brigadier General, before going to the EU base, you are going to have a star on your shoulder, so I will keep giving you missions this year. Are you ready? I know that teacher won't harm me. I trust you, Kai said without hesitation. Good, that's what I like to hear. Before that, I want to ask another question. If we kill this guy, they still have another 2 people capable of bringing magical beasts. This is going to be a long fight, isn't it? And do you know where that mat is? No. Our focus is to kill S-rank magical beasts. After that, the magical beasts will slowly crumble, so I don't think this will be a long battle. As for that bastard, I don't know about his exact location, but we can safely assume he is in the south, hiding among the magical beasts. Why did he do this? Kai sighed. I don't know the exact reason, but I think jealousy. He was the leading scientist before I took over with my Zodiac blood, and I think he wants to prove himself or something. Unfortunately, he is doing this with my research as his base. Pathetic. I understand. I will talk about the mission with you after I have finished the last mission. One more thing. Do you think I can talk about this with my group? Rhea didn't answer him immediately because she knew the whole situation. As much as she hated to say it, she said, No, I think there won't be more than 10 people knowing our situation. This will allow us to retain our morale, and so on. In other words, other than you, me, and the people I will invite in our discussion later, it is hard for anyone to know about this. I understand. I won't tell anyone about this. Although the others might realize when we hunt this zodiac with the Protector's blood, I won't confirm it. Kai nodded with a solemn expression. I want to add a goal for this raid mission. What is it? Since it might take 3 mission and 5 mission to rank you up to Colonel and Brigadier General respectively, your goal is to reach this Lieutenant Colonel rank in this raid mission. In other words, you need to contribute many things. I will try. It's not like they're going to be that strict, since I probably won't get that rank if they don't lower their requirement. Alright, see you later in 1 or 2 weeks. Yes, teacher. Kai nodded before looking up, staring at the blue sky. He scratched his head and let out a long sigh. This is going to be a long year. After calming his heart down, Kai returned to his room and found the group staring at Sophia. Kai tilted his head in confusion. Is there something wrong? Michelle hesitated for a second. She wants to fight you without the simulation device. Although we can heal your injury with Evan's ability, this battle will give you a huge disadvantage. Kai understood her intention and what she meant by disadvantage. It was obviously his vibration sword. That sword alone would penetrate the metal rods of this exoskeleton, so unless he wanted to cripple her, he shouldn't do it. The same applied to a few of his magic because it might cause a long-term effect. And yet Kai simply smiled and said, I am fine with it. Michelle and the others were dumbstruck, blinking their eyes a few times. As for Sophia, obviously, this statement thrilled her. Great, where are we going to fight? We need an open field for this. I don't like being stared at by other students, so I think we can do it in Michelle's house. You have a huge field for this, right? Kai glanced at Michelle with confidence. I have it. But Michelle looked down. How could she let another woman try to injure him in her own backyard? This is unacceptable. Besides, my father is going to rage just like grandfather, you know. Please help me convince him. Besides, she will be with us for a year, and I will probably have used all my techniques in front of her by that time, so there is no need to conceal it. Instead, it's better to reveal it this early so we can cooperate better. What do you think, Sophia? Kai smirked as he called her by her first name to show how he accepted her inside the group. I would love to. Since the great Leo has spoken, I will also use my power in this fight. Oh, sorry, should I call you Captain or Kai? Kai is fine. It's just a name, so no big deal. Kai shrugged before glancing at the girls. You guys are not going to be mad at me with just a simple thing like this, right? Do you want us to act like those 2D girls? Please, they are outdated after the magical beasts overturned civilization. Michelle shrugged, followed by a nod from Tasha and Ayaka. Oi, since when can you say something like that? Sanai joined the conversation with a grin. I learned it from you. Didn't you sexually harass me with this kind of thing when we were in United Asia? Where students will learn if it's not from their teacher. Chi, Sanai clicked her tongue and looked away. I just hope that they won't follow your nonchalant attitude though. You want to fight me? Kai shrugged and looked back at Sophia. We can leave school in 3 hours. Try to make yourself comfortable first before we go to Graham family. Will that be all right with you? Sophia nodded. Sure, I will follow your arrangement. Chapter 229, Kai versus Sophia. As agreed, they went to Michelle's house by car. Sanai didn't participate in this because she had no benefit from watching something like this. Only Evan decided to watch the fight, so he could learn close combat from Sophia's fighting style. Michelle had talked with her father about this and forbade him from visiting them, lest he would act like Nathan. Much to his dismay, Michael didn't have any choice other than agreeing to this. The moment they entered Michelle's house, the car purposely went toward the backyard. There was a quite big field there without any plants surrounding it. Even the ground was filled with dirt. This place is good for the fight, Kai thought as he peeked outside the window. It's so. You can get one more spacious than this, as long as you request it in EU base. Sophia interjected while observing Kai's expression. Kai's eyebrows twitched as he didn't really like how she belittled Michelle. Of course, this was Sophia's true intent. She wanted to confirm what kind of things he disliked, to make sure she didn't do it in the future. The only time she could do this was during the early period, since she could say she didn't know anything about it. Never mind. It seems I was wrong. Sophia shrugged, stopping Michelle, who was about to rage. I apologize if that makes you uncomfortable. You? Michelle took a deep breath. As much as she wanted to snarl at her, since the other party had apologized, she didn't need to continue. Kai said nothing more and simply waited until the car stopped. The butler opened the door, and the group finally got off the car, walking toward the field. This will be the place of the battle. You don't need to worry about the environment. Even my house is a bit far from this place. Michelle shrugged, pointing her finger to the biggest building almost 50 meters away from this place. The rule is simple. The one who leaves the dirt and steps on the grass will lose. Since you are using my field for this, I hope you can comply with this rule. Kai and Sophia nodded without hesitation as they walked toward the field, knowing that they shouldn't delay it any longer. It was best to not stay here for long, because Michael might blow up his fuss here. Michelle then signaled his butler to grab a few things before she walked toward the two, stopping right in front of the dirt field. You may start. Hearing the unexcited start threw them off for a second, before Sophia released her exoskeleton and raised her two fists. Her stance was close to boxing, but there was something different in this stance. Kai could feel it, but didn't know what it was. He took a deep breath, released the new exoskeleton he had, and summoned his swords. I don't mind if you use your vibration sword. Sophia smiled, feeling very confident. No need. I might accidentally cut you later. Kai rejected her request instantly. I'm going for close combat today, and I don't mind if you use magic as well, since it won't be a fair fight. Sophia's face twitched. She knew it wasn't a fair fight, because she wasn't a fighter like Kai, nor she had extraordinary strength. Her main strength was her magic. I will start then. Kai nodded and raised his sword, knowing Sophia was about to move. Sophia then raised her hands, summoning 4 small magic circles behind her, ice particles cube. The magic circles froze the air around them, forming a few small ice cubes around it before shooting them toward Kai. Kai looked at this and had no plan to avoid this attack. Instead, he swung both of his swords in his front. To everyone's surprise, when the group saw that the ice cubes passed him, they thought some of them hit Kai, but Sophia understood that not a single of them touched him. Is that really possible? It seems his hearing is not ordinary. I thought his hearing contributed only to its range, but it seemed it also improved his perception. Sophia frowned as she could completely see that Kai swung his swords and shifted it slightly to block every single ice cubes. You can listen and predict the projectile. That is insane. Kai shrugged. I am just showing my ability to you, but I won't explain them. Fair enough. Sophia nodded. Is that all? Should we step up a bit? Sophia took another deep breath as she leaped toward Kai. However, before she arrived at him, a few magic circles appeared again, shooting out another ice cubes. Kai noticed that these ice cubes were only distractions, and the main attacks came from Sophia. He simply smiled and walked a few steps forward before he waved his sword at her. Sophia widened her eyes. Kai just grasped the weakness of this attack in a single glance. It was true that the moment he stood there and blocked her, he would be subjected to any kind of attack. The same applied if he tried to run away. The only way to stop this was to clash with her directly by walking a few steps forward, so the ice cubes would miss the target. At this moment, she knew that she had lost this exchange because Kai's strength was far above her. In EU base, she could do something with her exoskeleton, but the one in front of her was the combination of a powerful zodiac and an exoskeleton. She clenched her fist and struck at Kai's sword, only to get blown away. Are you a fool? This is not like you. From how you fought in Miami, you shouldn't use such a stupid move. If I am your enemy, I will already split into half. Kai frowned and said with a cold tone, I know that. But this is the only technique I can use to see your reaction speed and observation skill. Just like the previous attack. Sophia smiled as she landed on the ground. Besides, you are not my enemy at the moment. There is no way Kai Carter is so foolish to kill me without any preparation. It seems I need to step up my game. Kai took a deep breath as his expression turned serious. He leaped towards Sophia with the intention to finish this battle in this exchange. Her instinct was trembling as Sophia formed huge gauntlets with claws on her hands. Let's go then. I didn't use this fighting style before because it wasn't suited in the previous battle. Now that you're going to face me one by one, I will try to beat you. Talk too much. Kai snorted as he completed his swings, aiming at her neck and right foot. Sophia smiled and knocked both of his swords upward and downward. The one aiming at her neck went upward, passing above her head while the other struck the ground. Just like the gauntlets, a pair of boots that looked like a paw of an animal appeared, covering her 2 feet. Sophia raised her feet and sent a kick toward his stomach. Kai channeled his magic power and created a magic circle in front of his body, stopping the kick without a problem. Jeez! Sophia stepped on this magic circle, using it as a cushion to raise her body and send a round kick toward Kai's head. Kai glanced for a second before he bent down and sent the same kick toward her. It seemed that both had the same reaction as they ducked down, with their feet clashed against each other. However, Sophia was the one at the disadvantage because neither foot was on the ground, taking away her balance. Kai used this chance to send his sword. No matter how bad his form is, as long as the sword struck her, it should be enough to injure her. At this point, Sophia only smiled as if she knew about it this whole time. To counter Kai's attack, she used the foot that stepped on the oscillation shield to regain her balance, spun her body around, placed her hands on the ground. Not only that, but she also used this chance to blow Kai's away by doing a handstand and kicked him. It should be possible with his ugly pose, as it posed not enough strength to maintain his position. Kai was also not a pushover. Using the last chance he had, he bent his knees before straightening it again, kicking Sophia's foot and giving enough force for Kai to leap away. Both of them were surprised. This time Kai leaped back a few meters away, while Sophia stood back after launching herself to the air with her hands. Is that your instinct? Kai asked, as if he already knew it but wanted to confirm it again. That's right. Unlike you, I don't have anything to hide. This sixth sense of mine can feel the enemy's presence, like seeing a great blaze. I will know there is a person in that particular direction. A similar thing applies to close combat. I can sense which part of the body you will use, so I can counter that attack. Isn't this one like your hearing? I heard you can listen to the movement of muscles, letting you predict what kind of attack and where they will go. Kai thought for a moment and nodded. Yes, I indeed can. However, your sixth sense is a bit weird. It's like seeing the future. She smiled. Nah, my sixth sense isn't that powerful. I will tell the reason if you can beat me. Ho! Kai's expression turned serious as he smirked. Then, we should test how powerful your sixth sense is. Sophia grinned as both of them leaped toward each other at the same time. Chapter 230. Kai vs. Sophia Part 2. They both clashed again. Kai was the one on the offensive, while Sophia took all his attacks head-on. To his surprise, although his strength was superior to Sophia, he couldn't gain any advantage because she had mastered all techniques to push his attack away without restraining her muscles. Even so, Kai kept attacking her from left and right, bottom and top, for a few more minutes. There was no magic involved in this exchange, because each other wanted to discern the extent of their physical abilities, including Kai's hearing and Sophia's sixth sense. Tasha furrowed her eyebrows when watching this before glancing at Michelle and asking, "Do you think he will lose?" The probability is low. So, you think he can lose? Tasha narrowed her eyes. I am just saying, according to what Kai believes, the question will remain unanswered until one of them falls to the ground. Michelle shrugged. I somehow want to fight her. Ayaka suddenly came and said while looking at Sophia. It was like her instinct riling up her animal blood. You have no turn, though. I know. Still, what do you think about her as a comrade? Michelle asked the two. From her strength alone, she will be a great addition to our group's overall strength. Albeit, I am still wondering how annoying it is to have her. Tasha sighed, feeling problems would come soon. It will be a lie if I say I am not jealous or anything. Unlike both of you, I have this kind of repulsive feeling about her. Ayaka furrowed her eyebrows. I will be supervising her. Just like how I did back then, I would eliminate her if she proved herself as a threat no matter the cost, Michelle said coldly as she glanced at Ayaka. Ahaha. Ayaka scratched her head, knowing that she must be talking about her. It seems I have escaped death. Michelle shrugged and kept watching the battle. Seeing they had fought for a few minutes without magic, Kai decided to stop his attack and leaped backward. You are good. If he used your vibration sword, I would have died many times, Sophia smirked. You kept attacking my weak points after analyzing my movement. That was insane, especially in close combat. If I didn't have this sixth sense, I wouldn't be able to counter it. Kai shook his head. Your basic ability is excellent, not one that I can complain about. Now that I think about it, your zodiac blood. Does it come from an Arctic fox? Yes. Sophia nodded. Arctic fox is known as an animal that can change its fur's color according to the season. However, the effect has evolved into a kind of mimicry when turning into a magical beast. At the same time, its ice element has some affinities with my ice magic. I see. Kai closed his eyes and thought for a moment. That is a good ability. I think this is also the reason why I can spot you, despite having used your mimicry skill. I guess. And my strength isn't that strong due to the backlash of the blood. Sophia sighed. Well, you will know this eventually, so I think about saying it now. Besides, you're going to come to my base later, so it's all good. Kai didn't comment on the base matter and simply looked at her zodiac's ability. That's good enough for me. The one that is truly useful is your sixth sense, just like your hearing. Sophia shrugged, telling Kai she wasn't the only one. Now I have seen your physical abilities. I will move on to the magic aspect. Kai nodded. Even though this was a fight between him and Sophia, this looked more to a test, checking each other's strength. However, this soon changed as Kai finally released his animal instinct. Seeing this, Sophia knew that she couldn't have a nice chat again until one of them lost. She took a deep breath and summoned the 4 magic circles again. Kai knew this and leaped toward her, planning to attack her before she could launch her attack. At this time, Sophia smiled because she had successfully baited him. A big magic circle appeared beneath her, and ice started spreading on the ground in all directions. It didn't stop there. Kai saw ice spikes emerging from the ground, trying to cover her and stab him. And with that area of attack, it was not possible for him to go around, as it covered her from all directions. In the end, he halted his step for a second. Sophia then activated her magic circles and summoned 4 ice spikes with the size of a human arm. The tip of these ices looked very sharp. Kai looked at this and realized that he only had 2 options: charge against these spikes to dodge this or retreat again. But if I retreat, she will make another attack, and it will never end until I exhaust myself. There is only one thing to do then. Taking a deep breath and activating his vibration sword, Kai slashed the 4 spikes before leaping toward her, albeit his focus suddenly got distracted by these 4 ice spikes, so he refrained himself from making such a move. Instead, Kai stabbed his swords to the ground and grabbed the spikes with both hands while avoiding the other 2. Although I don't know how strong I am right now, I feel I have surpassed the 1000 mark. So take this. Kai threw the first one. Sophia never expected him to use such an attack. She tried to make a magic shield, albeit it was too late. The spike shattered the unstable magic circle and made its way towards Sophia. It was at this time the exoskeleton showed its prowess. Sophia shifted her body, making sure that the ice hit the metal rod instead of her body. This was one of the flaws of the exoskeleton. They had yet to create an exoskeleton that could cover a whole body, so the user was expected to do this if they wanted to block it. Fortunately, the one Sophia used had the most metal rods, so it was the closest to a full body armor. Even then, Sophia's version only covered 30% of her body. The moment the ice hit her, the ice couldn't penetrate the metal rod. In fact, the metal rod shattered the ice with its hardness alone. Unfortunately, Kai had yet to finish his attack. He threw another one toward her, but this time he added magic into it. Are you kidding me? Sophia gritted her teeth when a magic circle appeared before Kai released the ice. And as soon as it passed through the magic circle, it sped up and increased its power. Don't underestimate me. Unlike last time, she had the time to react and punch this ice. Kai just used his sound blast to give a boost to the ice's speed and power. This was like what he did in Miami, where he launched several parts of magical beasts, but with proper timing and technique. That was why when Sophia received it with her fist, she found the full force of a man with 1,000-kilogram strength along with his magic. As one would expect, the ice still couldn't penetrate the exoskeleton or even bent it, but it didn't mean the ice had no effect on Sophia. The powerful force and momentum pushed her back a few meters, before she deflected it in another direction. Unfortunately, Kai had yet to stop his continuous attack. Using this opportunity, he jumped forward and swung his sword at her, planning to finish this. Sophia never expected she would face this type of situation. Luckily, she managed to react properly this time as she created a blue magic circle in front of her. At first, Kai thought this must be a magic shield before he felt the temperature drop slightly as a piece of ice appeared out of nowhere. No. Is she freezing the water particles in the air and spreading it to make a shield? Kai muttered to himself as he watched how an ice wall appeared out of nowhere. His sword ended up hitting this ice wall instead of her. Kai gritted his teeth and completed his swing. The ice started to crack from that extraordinary strength before Kai ultimately broke it into pieces and made his way towards Sophia. Sophia smiled as she had bought enough time to prepare her next attack. As soon as he broke through the ice wall, she activated the magic circles above them. Raising her hands, she chanted, "Ice Executor." An ice cage formed above them, falling down to trap Kai. At the same time, a few ice spikes also appeared, launching themselves toward Kai. This was truly an execution. Not only Kai needed to destroy the solid-looking ice cage, but he also needed to do it under the heavy attacks from these ice spikes. Kai glanced at the 8 spikes that surrounded him as they flew toward him. Knowing that he couldn't dodge this, he summoned his oscillation shield to protect his back before shifting his body to the right to dodge the ice spike from the left. As for the ones coming from his front and right, Kai simply shattered them with his swords. "Now, let's see whether you can break my ice cage first, or my ice hurt you first." Sophia grinned as she thought she had trapped Kai in her plan. "No, you, goodbye." Albeit, the latter seemed to be unfazed by the whole situation, as if he had a perfect counter for this. In fact, Kai smiled gently as he created a magic circle below her. Sound Blast. Sophia just realized what he wanted to do. Despite that gentle smile, he was a sadist in doing this. Sophia gritted her teeth as she couldn't escape from this one. The magic circle launched her up to the sky. Chapter 231. Kai vs. Sophia Part 3. Shit. That was the last word Sophia uttered before she flew into the sky due to Kai's sound blast. Kai didn't forget to send another message out loud. "If you give up now, I will ask Tasha to teleport you back." Of course, he didn't forget to use a couple more magic circles to send her to the highest limit where the low pressure didn't torture her. This guy. Sophia really wanted to curse him, but stopped as she tried to search for another way to help her. Kai thought there should be a single move that Sophia could use to escape from this situation. He had seen this technique when Sophia came to the military base from the hotel in Miami. She and Julia rode a thin ice trail to move in the air. Her movement was precise and fluid, so Kai thought she could use it by making trails in the sky. Sophia also thought of this, but the technique had one big flaw. As much as it could resist the physics law, it was still unable to defy gravity. The moment she created the ice trail, it would simply fall along with her. Even when the trail reached the ground, it would crumble as it couldn't resist the momentum. Sophia was in a bind this time, and even thought about giving up. This brother and sister duo, why do they like people falling from the sky? One is teleporting them while the other one is launching them? They are evil. Sophia gritted her teeth before she thought something crazy. She wondered whether this was possible or not, but decided to try it. Ice trail freeze. A magic circle appeared in front of Sophia's eyes that she pointed at the ground, summoning another magic circle on the pointed area. Kai looked at this and signaled Tasha to move if she failed. It wasn't good to have her die in this place, especially on the first day. Tasha nodded as she activated her own magic circle, ready for the rescue. Suddenly, an almost vertical slide appeared. This slide, made of ice, was designed to receive her falling momentum before turning it to horizontal movement. Kai could see her thinking upon watching this almost lil design with a bigger curve, but it was still ridiculous. Although he didn't know whether this could save her or not, he had decided to stop it and asked Tasha to rescue her. Tasha nodded and activated her magic circle, teleporting her next to Sophia. "Oi, I am still trying to." Before she could finish, Tasha already grabbed her hand and teleported them back to the ground, killing the falling momentum completely. Even so, Sophia was still facing downward, so she fell to the ground with her face first. "What are you doing?" Obviously, she was angry. Not only had Tasha stopped her from doing an imaginative thing, but she had also dropped her like that. At the same time, she immediately changed her expression to a calm and serious one. Her personality even turned into a polite one as she thanked her. I apologize for my rudeness before, and thank you for saving me. The reason was obviously Tasha. She was the only one she shouldn't oppose in this base, as she was soon to be sister-in-law, or so she thought. The battle has been decided. Tasha didn't reply to her and ended the match. Fufu, Tasha has mellowed a bit. Michelle grinned as she walked toward her. Now that I think about this, you gradually turn like this after entering this base. I still remember in the past you wanted to kill all the girls that stuck to him. And who has influenced me to be like this? Tasha rolled her eyes. It was not me. Michelle shrugged. I only gave you my whole idea. I think the turning point is when you have quit being a virgin. Michelle thought it was a good time to tease her, but she realized that a portion of her darkness seemed to have still remained. Tasha's cold gaze, the leaking killing intent, and her clenching fists made her stop. Just shut up. Tasha rolled her eyes and created a magic circle to teleport Michelle up to the sky, letting her experience the same thing as Sophia. Oi. How can you team up with her? Michelle shouted out loud before summoning her shadow. She had been experiencing many things with her shadow lately, and she realized she could freely manipulate her shadow. And coupled with the concept of her shadow swords, Michelle turned her shadow into a parachute and flew down gently. That's how you do it. If you can't even do something like that, it's better to leave this group. Tasha ignored her again and snorted at Sophia. She was planning to be cold to everyone, so this girl feared her and returned to the EU base. Unfortunately, the first time she did this seemed to have no effect on Sophia. After all, she only thought this when she knew Sophia was coming to the base. Kai let out a long sigh, wondering what he should do with this situation. On one hand, he wanted to solve this matter since he would choose whatever he felt in the future. On the other hand, he was more supportive of his girls rather than Sophia. This created a dilemma in his heart, and he ended up drawing a line with her for the time being. Anyway, I think the match has been decided. You have some powerful ability, but what I find interesting is your control. I believe you can become the support with Ayaka as our main attack, as she still possesses higher firepower than you. Michelle and I will be in front while Tasha will shoot on the monsters near us. With this, our group should be able to handle 50 to 100 magical beasts alone. Of course, we can even do more since you have the power to change the terrain. However, I do believe that you should try to get along with everyone first and get accustomed to our fighting style. If you can't do that, I won't bring you on future missions. After all, they are more important to me. Kai explained the basic combat strategy while giving an important warning to Sophia. After that, he didn't forget to diss her. Well, I need to say that the last decision of yours was foolish. I can even shatter that ice slide and kill you at the right moment. You are too confident with your power, and I could say you are the weakest one in our group right now. All the girls widened their eyes. They were shocked that Kai would bash her, but the girls actually liked it. Of course, how could they not? Sophia was still a stranger who was trying to steal their men, so this type of reaction was normal. I am sorry. On the other hand, Sophia could only bow her head and listen to Kai's complaints. The girls would be happy to see this anyway, so she accepted all the complaints. Meanwhile, a middle-aged man was watching this fight from the start with a beautiful woman inside the house. Dear, what do you think about this, Sophia? A thieving cat, the man replied instantaneously. Well, I do agree at some points, but don't you think she can be converted to be our citizen as well? Although it's hard, it's indeed feasible. I heard that there are 2 possible subjects that will soon become Zodiacs in the research center, and unlike her, they would likely have a power that is far stronger than her since the blood is relatively power-related. You might already know about her mimicry ability, but in this world where our main enemies are magical beasts, that ability won't be used that much. The only problem is her powerful instinct. No, I should say her sixth sense. This ability can completely overthrow her Zodiac ability. That's why it will be hard to convert her. As much as her ability persists, I don't really have that many complaints if she wants to be Kai's woman. But the fact that she is trying to convince him to join EU base makes me hate her. Even father is trying to make her uncomfortable so she can return prematurely. True enough. She sighed before walking away. Anyway, I will check, little Anthony. Sure. I will join you after this. Michael nodded, looking at Daisy's back with a gentle expression. With Anthony and Kai, Graham family will have another protector for another few generations. However, if the EU base snatches Kai, I can't predict what will happen to Michelle's. This problem had troubled him for a few months, even before Sophia came. He knew that Kai would be in the center of attention, and the other bases would surely entice him. United Asia wouldn't be a problem because they had bad blood with Kai. After all, the government there had disappointed Kai to the point he almost died. Meanwhile, a single family wouldn't be able to contain Kai, including the two families that are currently in a war. That was why the only problem would be the EU base. He had thought of several solutions to keep Kai in the base, but if the latter wanted to go there himself, he had no way to stop him unless he wanted to make a family. As expected, it seems I have only a single solution. This one has the highest possibility to retain him, except being a general. Michael sighed inwardly. He knew what kind of thing he could speak and which topic he shouldn't say in Kai's presence, since he would surely listen to it. That was why all of these were his thoughts, with no way for Kai to know it. Michael watched the match until the conclusion before he turned around with a serious expression. I would inform my father to prepare it secretly in South Carolina. Chapter 232. The Mission. After the fight concluded, Kai informed them that they were going to have a mission tomorrow, so everyone needed to prepare. In the night, Kai finally got the mission detail from Rhea. It seemed to have just gotten its approval not long ago. Mission: assassinate the running away Zodiac and recover its body. Description: meet the reinforcement in Costa Rica, and he will explain the rest. Kai sighed and realized that this mission wasn't for him to begin with. Rhea just asked the government to include him in the mission. Still, who am I going to meet? This question flashed in his mind a couple of times during the night until he fell asleep the next day. Kai and Tasha immediately teleported to room 420, preparing for their flight to Costa Rica. Not long after, they flew toward Costa Rica. Sophia tried talking with the group on this occasion to know them better. Even though she was not a US-based citizen, she still needed to act her part, including becoming a part of this group. Getting close to Kai could be done later, she thought, after learning Kai's personality yesterday. The flight took 3 hours before they arrived at the coast of Costa Rica. Kai asked the pilot to halt the helicopter after noticing a large group around the coast to find out whether they were allies or not. Luckily, his hearing managed to discern their affiliation instantly, and it turned out it was a regiment they knew. Without hesitation, Kai asked the pilot to land the helicopter in the middle of the army below. The soldiers furrowed their eyebrows, wondering who would be their partner this time. The government was ridiculous to have them halt their progress for another day just to take care of some students. Yet, their mind was blown away the moment they saw the first person to come out. At the same time, their general also had come closer without anyone knowing, ready to greet him. To think the students that will help us are you and your group. Kai Carter. The middle-aged general smiled and stretched his hand. It's my pleasure to meet you again, Sir Sanders. I am sorry since my teacher seems to request it at the last minute. Kai smiled and shook the middle-aged man's hand. It turned out that the one who was originally assigned this mission was Sanders, before even Sanders said anything. Around 2/3 of the soldiers, who had seen his figure previously and could see him now, already straightened their bodies and saluted in unison. Kai's figure had been ingrained in their mind. He was the hero of the US base, but more importantly, he saved their military base and their lives. Only a portion of the new blood actually knew him from the news, but most of them were still clueless. They were wondering whether to do the same thing as the other soldiers, since the general had yet to give them instruction. To think you have reached this point when you just become a second year. I am speechless, Sanders sighed. Even my father has been talking about you recently. Haha, I am not that great. Just consider me as lucky because I could get Rhea Ross as my teacher. Kai shook his head. He knew that Rhea Ross must have pulled some strings to get the government to make an exception for him, so no need to get too proud. That is your skill as well. No matter how much other people help you, it will be useless if you don't have the ability yourself. Sanders shook his head. Anyway, I will brief you on the mission this time. Yes, I will have my teammates to greet you first. Kai nodded with a serious expression, knowing this would become a serious talk. No need. You are going to act alone this time. Sanders grabbed his hand when he was about to turn away. What do you mean? Kai frowned, feeling something wrong. The purpose of this mission is to have you learn a collaboration mission. Think about it. You have always been in an important position in every mission, mostly a strategist. But you also need to know that you won't always become a strategist. From the next raid mission alone, you should know that it's a collaboration between 4 4-star generals, so everyone is equal. I have been instructed not to have you as my strategist and act with limited knowledge about this mission. You will report to me after finishing your mission while accommodating my soldiers in your mission. However, you can't order a single soldier. Kai tilted his head for a second and realized his role. I see. Sanders observed his expression for a few seconds to see whether he was sad or happy with such an arrangement, but to no avail. Kai didn't have a change of expression and asked him about the mission. The SS rank magical beast this time is a female zodiac with a seahorse blood. According to the information, her ability to control the water around her had progressed by leaps and bounds, making it hard to kill her. As for her appearance, her mouth is close to a seahorse's mouth this time. So, don't think too much about it. She has been calling armies of sea magical beasts from the south of Mexico to Costa Rica. Luckily, we have killed many monsters in shallow water, so she has managed to gather only 500 of them. I bring an army with the same number, so we should be able to suppress them quickly. Your mission is to kill her before she can call another reinforcement. I don't know whether it's possible or not since she is surrounded by land again, but I want something certain. Unless she dies, the mission and the worry won't stop. After my army attack their base, a few kilometers southeast from here, you are going to sneak inside. After killing her, you only have one job remaining, which is to make sure our soldiers don't miss a single magical beast. Kai had been listening attentively and thought about the details. How is her strength? She doesn't have much, only around 300 to 400 kilogram strength. It's much bigger than a normal human, but it is too weak for you, right? Kai nodded. He had passed the 1000 mark with the new exoskeleton, so this one shouldn't be a problem. There is also a record of her having a hard skin, but I don't think it will be harder than your vibration sword. Yes, I will be careful. Even if she is injured, she is still a threat. Sure. Now that you have received the mission, you shall follow the map I will give you immediately. Sanders took out his communication device and stretched his hand, asking for Kai's device. Kai handed it and watched how Sanders transferred the data to him before taking a glance at it. Since it's done, how about giving some words to my soldiers? They've been talking about you for a few months, so I think it's good to hear your motivation words. Sanders smirked while glancing at his soldiers. Kai scratched his cheek, a little embarrassed. He didn't know what to say, so he just stated his current condition. Although I am not with you in this mission, I am still cooperating with all of you. I hope you can take care of all of us. Yes, sir. The soldiers saluted and shouted in unison. Kai smiled and saluted back before coming inside his helicopter. Follow this route. Kai handed his device, which opened a map and asked the pilot to go to the destination. Meanwhile, Sophia was more and more curious about this Kai. The soldiers looked very sincere. They admired Kai from the bottom of their heart. In fact, she could see the blaze coming from these soldiers got strengthened when Kai said his piece. To think that his presence could raise morale, it was an insane feat that should only be possible for those who had served the army for a few decades, not a student like him. This was why Kai looked very mysterious. She remembered the scene in Miami where she realized she also admired Kai secretly back then. The back of his looked dependable, worthy of putting their whole life in the line, because somewhere in her heart, she believed he would lead them to victory. Coupled with his brave action, Kai was very charming, especially since the armies were filled with women. She kept thinking about this matter for the whole journey and waited for a few hours in a small city called San Marcos. Since they were waiting for the army to arrive, Kai counted the magical beasts surrounding the city and only found 563 magical beasts. It shouldn't be that hard for their force to kill them. Kai looked down and studied the terrains while locating their target. The terrain had no problem since he could make several plans to infiltrate the city without the magical beasts noticing. But the target didn't have any significant movement that allowed him to locate her. Luckily, he had another helper this time. Taking a glance at the beauty in his group, he asked, Sophia, can you locate the leader? Sophia's eyes brightened as she just got her first mission. She took a deep breath and looked down at the ground level. Her instinct allowed her to sense even those behind the building, so she managed to grasp the entire battlefield almost instantly. Pointing at her finger 30 degrees to the south, she said, "The biggest blaze is over there. I don't know if it's the boss or because there is a high number of beasts there, though. It's enough." Kai nodded before listening to the footsteps coming not far from them. He took his swords out and informed them, "Get ready, we will move in 5 minutes." Just like his prediction, the group needed around 3 minutes to reach the city with their feet, so Sanders immediately commanded, "Attack." Chapter 233, Fighting, the Failed Zodiac. Attack. As soon as the signal was out, Kai and the others turned serious. They followed the movement of the soldiers before glancing at Kai. "I will be leading you inside the town and use the soldiers as our camouflage. Our enemy will escape after this, so I will use that to discern their movement and other things, confirming whether that place has our target or not," Kai announced, and didn't forget to give another job to Sophia. "You are going to see whether the so-called blaze moves to another direction or not. Understood?" Sophia nodded, locking her eyes on the target. Meanwhile, Tasha asked, "Are you going to use my teleportation magic?" "That's the plan. We will use it to get closer, and I will start from there." "All right." As for Michelle, she seemed to want to do something from her looks alone. She sighed. "I want to try something, but I don't know whether it will be useful or not." "You can do that, I trust your judgment." Kai nodded. Kai glanced at Tasha and Sophia for a moment before shaking his head. He thought, "As much as I want to get my magic power back, I can't do it as of now because Sophia is with us now. I still don't know whether it's all right to expose this secret as well. If I can, I might already trap their leader using my sound insulation room to prevent him from informing the other magical beasts. Besides, I can't even order the soldiers this way. I'm afraid it will be harder than the usual mission." Kai thought for a moment and said, "Get ready. We are going to move in a minute. Make sure you are prepared for the attacks from magical beasts." The group nodded while Evan asked, "What is my role now?" "You want to see your combat progress, right? Since the combat of this guy is quite big, you won't join the fight for now. You can target the magical beast if you want, though." Kai shook his head. He couldn't let Evan fight because he still needed to be polished even more before becoming a decent fighter. "I understand." Evan didn't take it to his heart because he knew his strength the best. "Ayaka, I have a secret mission for you later." Kai whispered something to her, not letting the others know. Ayaka thought for a moment and nodded. "I will do it." "Good." Kai then signaled Tasha to start and pointed his finger at a certain building. Teleportation. The pink magic circle glowed, sending them toward the roof of that specific building. "He has begun moving." Kai and Sophia shouted at the same time before their eyes intertwined, noticing that they were focusing on the same person. "Follow me." Kai nodded as they started jumping on top of the roof, following their target. Not long after, Kai decided to jump inside a dark alley and continued their way behind the building. 1 minute later, they spotted a single person running through from building to building, scattering either window or wall to let him through. Just like how the information described her, she indeed had the mouth of a seahorse. Other than that, he couldn't see any change in particular, except her body that was covered with her clothes. There was a different intake of sound in that particular area, so he thought her body must have turned into that of a seahorse. He signaled the others to set up an ambush. This was the usual thing they did in every mission, unless they had special instruction. Kai and Michelle would stop the enemy from the front, while Tasha would support them with their bow. Ayaka would wait until the person lowered her guard before dealing a decisive blow. However, Sophia didn't know her role in this battle, so she looked at Kai with a confused expression. "Ask Ayaka to learn about your role." Kai shrugged. "So, she is going with me and set up an ambush strike?" Ayaka asked for a confirmation. "Yes, sure." Ayaka nodded and began explaining what she usually did in a mission. Sophia listened to her attentively, not wanting to make a mistake. "Let's go." Kai tugged Michelle's arm as he changed his direction and created 2 magic circles in front of them. This was Kai's sound blast. Due to this new skill, Michelle and the others had played along, testing every single combination they could use with this skill. And it turned out that Kai's sound blast was more versatile than he thought to be. Kai and Michelle stepped on those magic circles and launched themselves toward the failed Zodiac. On the other hand, the Zodiac seemed to have noticed their presence as she immediately summoned the water wall out of nowhere. Kai would surely not take any risk if he didn't notice this, and would simply go around this wall to hit them. However, the thought never appeared again the moment Michelle could control her shadow even more freely. Michelle only nodded to him as she created a ball of darkness that soon transformed into a plate, covering their front like a car's windshield. Kai didn't stop her, because he knew they would go through this water wall without much problem, and he would need to do his job right after splash. The water was stopped by this shadow. The Zodiac was taken aback at first, before reacting to it by sending her arm to destroy this shield. If Kai were not here, Michelle wouldn't be able to react to this, because the shield was too dark for her to see. Fortunately, Kai's ears could hear every single movement without the need to see it. A sword suddenly appeared, slashing through this black shield and hit the woman's hand. Moreover, he had even activated his vibration sword without any protection around her hand. The sword chocked and sent it flying. At the same time, Kai sent another strike toward her stomach to split her into two. Despite having the strategy, he wouldn't care about the process if he could finish the battle sooner. Hence, he dared to attack this woman without giving his teammate a chance. Roar. The woman screamed before the water particles in the air gathered around her stomach and dampened the attack from his vibration sword. Just like how he expected, the woman used her evolved stomach to withstand this attack and took advantage of the force behind it to blow her away. However, Kai noticed that the roar seemed to be a calling roar instead of a struggling roar. The fact that many magical beasts suddenly turned their way and headed toward them reinforced his belief. As for the Zodiac, she continued flying as far as possible to get a good distance with Kai before continuing her escape. It was at this time Ayaka activated her magic. A huge magic circle appeared behind her, creating a net of fire. The woman realized it would burn her if she were trapped there. That was why she turned around and pointed her hand toward releasing a bolt of water to suppress this fire net. Ayaka smiled on top of the building as she muttered, "It will succeed. That is if I don't have someone beside me." Sophia beside her nodded and created another magic circle not far from the fire net. The moment the water flew on top of it, the magic circle glowed and froze the water flying above it. Of course, Ayaka's fire net might get influenced a bit because of the temperature, but it was still strong enough to burn her raw. This time, she screamed in pain. The fire net caught her and burned a portion of her front, except her body area. She gritted her teeth and sent another blast of water, pulverizing the fire in an instant. At this time, Tasha released her lightning piercer with 3 arrows almost at the same time. Just like how the others had improved, she also made some upgrades to her technique. This lightning piercer that she could only use one time was upgraded to a 3 times use. She released these arrows in succession so they could go to one spot. The Zodiac couldn't dodge this because she just freed herself from Ayaka's fire net. Water started creating another wall to stop this attack, as this might be the only way to stop them. Unfortunately, Michelle didn't let her do so. She swung her swords simultaneously. Shadow slash. These 2 dark crescent-shaped slashes ran through the ground, making their way toward the Zodiac. She noticed the incoming attacks from behind and turned her body around, creating another wall of water. The reason Michelle and Kai could break through her wall before was that she didn't reinforce it. Now that she had prepared everything and activated all of her magic power, she reinforced the wall to ensure that nothing would pierce through it. At this time, Sophia created another move and froze both water walls, but to no avail. Just like how the freezing didn't affect the water elemental, the Zodiac immediately reinforced the frozen wall with another layer of water. This way, it would just make it even thicker. Dice. Sophia clicked her tongue after seeing the disgusting magic again. She had experienced it with Eru, so the hate had gone through her bones. Unbeknownst to all of them, Kai and Michelle already jumped in 2 different directions with the sound blast again. With her hands occupied with the 2 walls, it would mean that both her front and back were unprotected. Michelle came from the front, facing the Zodiac from head-on. She made sure that none of her efforts could make her turn around to stop Kai's attack. Kai only smiled at this and stabbed her heart from the back. When everyone thought she was finished, she looked at the bloody blade and roared, using all her magic power to create a powerful water blast to her surroundings. Chapter 234. A Hidden Scenario. The water particles gathered around her body, creating two more water walls behind and in front of her. Kai pulled out his sword without hesitation and created his oscillation shield. Michelle also did the same and created a wall with her shadow. Suddenly, the water walls moved and pushed them a few meters back, including Tasha's, Ayaka's, and Sophia's attacks, giving the Zodiac a valuable chance to either make a counterattack or an escape. It seemed the Zodiac chose the latter as she leaped toward Kai with a water bubble covering her hand. A magic circle appeared in her hand as she punched forward, as if she was hitting the magic circle itself. And it turned out that the water bubble in her hand became a few water streams. Just like when the water got an increase in speed when it flowed through a smaller tube, this magic took this principle to turn the water bubble that was supplied with a huge amount of water into a few streams with high speed. These streams flowed across the air, heading toward Kai like a snake. Kai furrowed his eyebrows and took a glance at his back, listening to the footsteps of the magical beasts that were getting closer to their position. It seemed the woman planned to use the magical beasts as a distraction, so she could escape. Unfortunately, she met Kai and Sophia. The magical beasts still need around 30 seconds to come. Kai calculated the distance and created an oscillation shield to block her attack, since she might take advantage of him, dodging the move to get past him. It was better to defend against this attack, because he could make a full leap toward her. However, Kai underestimated the power of these streams. The moment it struck his shield, he was pushed back a few meters until he reached a brittle building. After several hundred years, the building looked as if it wanted to collapse, especially when he saw the rubbles that had fallen from the upper floors. She wants to bury me with this building. Kai frowned before he saw how his teammates moved. Ayaka flew to the sky and aimed her firebirds toward her, or dove down to rescue Kai. Sophia also created a blue magic circle to freeze this building or build an ice wall to shelter him. Michelle was ready to unleash her shadow slash, while Tasha had prepared her teleportation. It was at this time the female Zodiac made her move. Kai felt the pressure lessened and noticed that the woman had slipped past him. No, you won't. Kai gritted his teeth and kicked one of the rubbles before using his sound blast to enhance it. The rubble with the size of a human head flew like a bullet, hitting the woman's back. Roar, roar. She screamed in pain but didn't stop using her feet. At the same time, the magical beasts had almost reached her. She thought she would be safe as soon as these beasts sacrificed their lives for her. Kai and his group obviously didn't let such a thing. Kai clenched his swords and started running toward her. The others also chased all of them. Roar. Another roar echoed in the region, but it didn't come from the female. Instead, it came from the tiger that somehow managed to come to her front and protected her from this group. Kai looked at this 5-meter tiger that sent his paw to squeeze him to death. Without wasting a single second, he created a green magic circle, not on his hand, but beneath his feet. Bam! The tiger seemed to have stomped Kai as the sound reverberated in everyone's ears. Even the Zodiac smiled, as if she just escaped death, or that was what she thought. Suddenly, the tiger was split into two by a dark wave running through the ground, followed by a shock wave that blew this tiger apart. Kai made a small smile as he glanced at his back, finding Michelle unleashed her shadow slash. As always, she sent her attack in perfect time. With this, nothing stands between him and the woman. He created another pair of magic circles and blasted the tiger toward the other magical beasts to prevent them from helping the woman. At the same time, the magic circle below his feet launched him toward the woman like a bullet. The woman was about to turn around, but Kai already appeared with his swords. His lion blood had already stimulated its aura, scaring the woman for a split second. Kai slashed his swords toward the woman's feet, separating them from the woman's body and making her unable to escape anymore. This would be a perfect chance for him to kill this female. But Kai suddenly retracted his swords and made a huge leap backward. The woman was baffled at first and thought the attack had stopped since the magical beasts had arrived to stop him. It was at this time Tasha and Sophia appeared from the sky, unnoticed by the beasts. Lightning Piercer, Ice Particles Cube. Tasha released her 3 arrows in succession, while Sophia released smaller cubes to create some more wounds to her body. Boom, boom, boom. Tasha's magic caused the sound, while Sophia's ice cubes only made a small sound and wounds, but it was followed by a scream from the woman. Sound blast. Kai stepped in again with his swords, looking at the woman and the two snails beside her. They looked like they were going to stalk Kai even with their body, albeit they needed to pass Michelle before that. Kai only smiled as he listened to the rumbling sound behind his back, followed by the dark waves that struck the two snails. Key. The female gritted her teeth. She couldn't even stand anymore because Kai cut her 2 feet, and yet no magical beast could help her in this situation. Not only the 5 of them had perfect coordination, but they were also extraordinary in their own way. Kai flew right above her with a dangerous glint in his eyes. His emanating killing intent made her instinctively create a shield to protect her head. Snort Kai had never aimed at her head. He sliced both of her arms at her shoulder, making her unable to escape. What is strange is that all people from Lion Group had dispersed themselves from Kai, who flew past her, or Tasha, who had teleported back with Sophia. Michelle was already far away to begin with. Everything seemed to be planned for another action. At this time, a red glowing magic circle appeared a few meters above the Zodiac's head. She had been lying low this whole time after helping Kai just for this. Calculating the distance between her and the beast, she knew where and when she needed to use this attack. She couldn't help but recall Kai's special mission. When the Zodiac is cornered, you need to use your biggest explosion and turn that person into smithereens. It's better to do it, so there won't be another case like this anymore. She agreed to it, and here she is, flying not far from her and using her magic scarlet explosion. Ayaka widened her eyes, clapped her hand, and shouted as she activated the magic circle, causing a huge explosion to the surroundings. As for the female Zodiac, who was engulfed by the explosion, it was hard to see whether she was still alive or not considering her state. When the wind blew the smoke away, they found nothing other than a few torn clothes that had yet to be burned. Kai leaped toward the crater made by the explosion and examined the Zodiac's previous location. She's dead. Let's go back, since we have completed the mission. How about the other magical beasts? Ayaka asked while glancing at the incoming magical beasts. That's not our mission. I am just following General Sanders' order. Kai shook his head before saying, I will tell General Sanders about the mission and leave. We will follow you. Ayaka nodded and asked Tasha to prepare for another teleportation. Kai and the group killed the magical beasts in front of them first before running across the city, meeting the general a few hundred meters away from them. Kai told him everything, including the fact that the corpse was reduced to ashes. After that, Tasha teleported them to the helicopter and returned to the school. Meanwhile, the soldiers killed all the magical beasts before going back to their base. Of course, Kai still waited until the soldiers finished and confirmed they had killed all of them. The mission seemed to have concluded without any problem. Or at least, all of them thought so, except Kai. The next day, a gray-haired woman walked inside the city, specifically where the battle against the Zodiac took place. She looked around and found a broken wall that looked artificial. This way. She went inside a building, looking around the pile of rubbles as if she was searching for something important. Only a few minutes later, she finally found a woman's body that had injuries all over her body. This is the dead body. It's not perfect, but it's fine. He needed to make a facade for me anyway. It seems I have requested something hard from my disciple. According to him, he used Sound Blast to blow her away and have that lass Ayaka use her scarlet explosion to cover the truth. Luckily, no one realizes this, including Ayaka herself. Anyway, I will recover the body first to see if there is another possibility to save those Zodiacs that have turned into monsters. Maybe I can also help my beloved disciple with a new possibility, she muttered to herself before grabbing the woman with her hand. She treated her wounds carefully and dressed her well. The wound and smell had been hidden due to this before she put the woman inside a huge bag. Carrying that bag on her back, she finally disappeared again. Chapter 235, Discussion with Ria. The next day, Kai and the others returned to the school as if they never took any mission in the first place. The atmosphere was bright and warm. Although Evan ended up not being useful in this mission, no one actually said something to him. His main job was to heal everyone, albeit not a single one of them suffered an injury. Hence, Evan poured his frustration of not being able to fight into his training. As for anyone else, they simply returned to their own schedule without care. No one realized the real reason why Kai asked Ayaka to use her Scarlet Explosion. In fact, they simply did not care. The days went by without any problem. After a week, Kai informed them he needed to take a break to visit Rhea Ross. No one said anything, because they knew Kai needed to discuss the raid mission with her. The next day, he arrived in front of Rhea's house. No matter how many times I see this house still looks like a rundown house. Kai shook his head and rang the bell before the latter asked him to enter. He then pushed the open door and walked inside the house. In her laboratory, he found Rhea Ross looking at the female Zodiac that he killed a week ago. "Teacher, don't worry. No one knows about her, so I will take good care of her. After that, I will properly bury her." Rhea Ross waved a hand and shook her head. "I haven't gotten inside the research center for a long time, so I need to research this alone to avoid their attention. I don't want them to force me to give up my research again." Kai glanced at her face, noticing the big black bag under her eyes. How long since her last sleep? What are we going to do today? Rhea Ross looked up and sighed. "Oh, right, I almost forgot. We are supposed to discuss the idea about the incoming raid mission." "Let's go to my study room." Kai nodded and followed her. It seemed she had prepared everything needed for today's meeting, from the digital map on her table to a few documents containing the information. Rhea took her usual seat, while Kai took the other one facing her. "I have 3 topics for today. Is sleep included?" Kai lowered his eyebrows and looked at his teacher worriedly. Rhea slightly widened her sleepy eyes and smiled. "Fine. Since my student finally shows some care, I will have some sleep after we finish this topic." Kai nodded. "Then let's cut to the chase. What are the 3 topics?" "Before that, I want to say something, sure. I have said I am going to pick your missions this year, right?" "Yes." "Did teacher have a problem?" "No. I'm just warning you first, because I won't pick any mission about war. I don't want you to lead the army in your 2nd year other than this raid mission. If not war, then what is my mission? Am I going to assassinate some monsters or something? I want you to learn more about the truth that might be connected to the riddle that Protector gave you. No, in fact, I am wondering whether these so-called protectors are the only ones out there or not. You might not know, but our planet is far more mysterious than you can imagine. Mysterious still, our ability is limited. Even if I want to explore such a thing, I might not be able to travel due to the magical beasts. Even before the appearances of magical beasts, our Earth has many mysterious places that can't be explained. Of course, I am going to send you to a few areas like that, so you might find that riddle. Those places are hard to explore for many reasons, so I am going to use that for your achievement to elevate you into a general. After all, I want you to know more than a simple war general, because there might be a time where you need that knowledge." Rhea shrugged. Kai nodded. "I understand. I will follow teacher's arrangement. Anyway, your hearing will help you in this mission, so I will explain more about this after discussing the topic." Rhea paused for a moment. "For now, I am going to explain about the 3 topics. First will be the 2 possible threats, that mad scientist and the Protector. I believe both of them will make a move at this point. Yes. Where is that guy now? I don't know where he is, but I believe he is hiding deep inside the uncharted territory. The last time the S-rank magical beast spotted was in Argentina, specifically Rosario. Hence, we are going to move with 40,000 soldiers to that place. None of them have been explored by us, so there should be many magical beasts there. And that guy must have hidden himself in the bottom of Argentina, around Santa Rosa or Bahia Blanca." Rhea explained the general position. Kai suddenly felt something odd when looking at the map. It was at the position where one should have expected something to happen. "Buenos Aires, teacher, this one." "Yeah. In this area, the sea relatively goes deep inside, and there is a river to boot. From what I can see, the Protector will use this place to travel." "I see. We are getting pincered from the south and east." Kai nodded. "So, we should have the spider to be on our west side or north side." "Yes. Though I believe the Protector brings more trouble than that guy, so I suggest having the spider on the west side. This way, they will need to pass our entire army to help the spider." Sure enough. We can position the spider in the northwest. but it will be too hard to make it specific like that. As for the threat from the south, we can simply create another small army to separate the south and west. Yes, since this place is mostly natural terrain, I think we will employ traditional warfare. It's to clash depending on the strength of the general. In other words, you should make the plan and have the generals execute it accordingly. Kai thought for a moment and nodded. In that case, I don't need a specific strategy. No, more or less, I will tell you about the 4 generals first. The first 2 are obviously Nathan and Ethan. Nathan might need to handle the protector. As for the south area, I believe the 3rd general, an old man called Paolo, to have this. He is a man filled with strength. His strength is useful to brutally destroy the enemies. Ethan's strength is in his defense. He has taught his son, Sanders, in that way. It is the reason why Sanders is taking command of Cuba military base. It's an important place to protect the bridge connecting North America and South America. He will coordinate with the 4th general, Jose, to block the magical beasts that will help the spider. You might not know, but this person has been working with Ethan since long ago, so you can trust him to coordinate fluidly with Ethan. Kai pondered for a moment, processing all the information in his head. What is Sir Nathan's strength then? Why teacher seems to be confident in placing him against the protector. I have no confidence in him. However, he is the most balanced than the other 3. If it's only to buy time, he should be fine. That's why even Michael is stationed inside the center base or his own house. He has the same style as Nathan, while the 2nd and 3rd son have gotten used to being Nathan's assistants. Their task is to stand by inside the base where they need to deploy immediately in an emergency situation. I see. Kai nodded. In that case, we will have the lineup as such. The problem is how long they can hold the magical beasts. Even though we bring 40,000, the enemies might have 3 to 4 times our number. It's too hard for us in the open area, so I think 3 hours to 4 hours is the maximum before we need to retreat. If you are going to minimize the casualty, then yes. However, our target is the S-rank magical beast. We are required to kill it before we can retreat. However, I will tell you the true terror of this magical beast known as an S-rank magical beast. Kai gulped down as Ria created the suspense. Well, it's not that bad. The last time I fought such a beast, it could overwhelm us because we didn't have a strong attack power capable of piercing through their defense. However, it will be different now with you and me. Your vibration sword will be our strongest weapon. I might be able to take one of its legs while you can kill that guy with your vibration sword. Unfortunately, your sword is too small to split the spider. The only thing we can do is to cut the legs one by one before finishing him off. Yes, that's the only way. Kai agreed with her. The problem is the poison. Can we safely assume that once we get inflicted by the poison, we will die? It's better to assume that way. In other words, you can't touch its body as it might also produce the toxin. There is also a chance to shoot its web containing the poison. It will be hard to fight because of this disadvantage, so you can understand my point of why it will take a long time to kill it. Yes, Kai nodded before feeling another problem might appear. He didn't know why the memory of the centipede appeared in his mind even though it was only a matter from United Asia. Suddenly, he realized what might happen. We might have another problem. Oh wait, my student, I haven't finished listing the problem yet. Chapter 236. A conspiracy theory. Kai became speechless the moment he heard it. The plan itself already had too many problems to cover, and she said she hadn't said everything. Kai scratched his head, confused about how to deal with it. The spiders won't be alone at this point, even though we have tried to separate them. Just like the previous time I fought an S-rank magical beast, some of the beasts didn't care about their injuries and broke through our formation. Then your small elite group needed to deal with it as well, Kai asked. Yes, around a third of us dealt with those beasts. Of course, there were some magical beasts coming from the ground itself, although some of the beasts that traveled inside the ground could be detected by Earth Magician to some extent. Some of them managed to slip because they were going a bit deeper than most of the monsters. That's it. Kai nodded. I was just about to discuss it with you. I have experienced it. Since we have your attack power and my magic, we should be able to spare half of our elite group to deal with those beasts. Meanwhile, 50 of us will try to kill that spider. Ria paused for a moment before sighing. Of course, this plan will be very dangerous, especially for you. I know I will try to focus on the spider's sound to dodge its attack while cutting some of its legs. Albeit, I'm afraid my sword can't kill that spider due to its giant body. I will handle it at that point. Rhea nodded. I have perfect magic to kill it when it can't move. Now that I think about it, was the frog skin that hard? Rhea realized why he asked about this and answered accordingly. Yeah, it was very hard. At the very least, no one in my group could cut that skin. It was only after I used my ultimate technique that I could pierce its head. I see my strength is crucial to this plan then. Kai finally understood how crucial his position would be. As much as I hate to say it, yes. You are the key to end this battle quickly. After that, we can try to kill that mad scientist before retreating to our base. The government will handle the rest of the monsters. I understand. Kai thought for a moment and commented, still the mad scientist won't be able to command all of the magical beasts even with the 2 zodiacs with him. In other words, they would probably be easier to fight than the other one. Yes, we might fight 2 or 3 protectors at the same time. That's why I am focusing on Nathan to buy time for us instead of fighting them head on. As long as we have enough time, we should be able to win. As for the S-rank spider side, the spider must want to have the beasts to assist him. Kai narrowed his eyes. Yeah, Ethan should be able to receive them properly. Well, just expect some to get through his defense and you will be fine. Noted. Kai nodded before realizing something important. That's right. Can I mobilize the Graham family's army? Now that I think about it, Nathan won't bring his elite soldiers. You want to add them to your calculation? I will only add them for an emergency. Then, yes, you can move them. And one last thing. How do we communicate with each other? Considering the army is too big, and the enemies are intelligent enough to decipher our code, Via will be transmitting the code. Of course, we're going to make the code on the spot and change it every time we use it to make sure the enemies don't know. It will be an ever-changing code that only I, you, and the 4 generals know, so expect to remember many things. All right. I have gathered all the information I need. Kai nodded before his expression turned serious. He had been suppressing his curiosity this whole time, so he blurted it out at this moment. That's right. Since we have finished this talk, I want to ask you about what you mean by this world is more mysterious than I thought. I mean, as it is. Just think about it. The Earth actually held many secrets even before the magical beasts overturned civilization. Rhea paused for a moment. Take a look at the sea. We couldn't really discover the depth of the sea. We might be able to research about one, but we won't be able to see the sea like how we discover something on the land. That's why I am thinking that the protectors have existed since ancient times, protecting this planet from behind the scene. Kai widened his eyes. Does teacher believe in those conspiracy theories as well? Blindly believe them? No. I only believe it after some facts. Rhea shook her head and said, I start to wonder why the animals would suddenly evolve to magical beasts. Why would the first place magic power was discovered be in the Atlantic Ocean, specifically in the Bermuda Triangle? Despite listening to many conspiracy theories, I somehow believe that some of them might contain some truth. Kai closed his eyes for a few seconds and asked, Then does teacher want me to do something about this mystery? Yes. I am planning to send you to the Easter Island. Rhea nodded with a solemn expression. Easter Island. Kai recalled everything he knew about this island and said with an unsure tone, I think this place was known for its stone statues in the past. What it's called, Mwai. Rhea corrected him before saying, Yeah. This is what I want you to investigate. On what basis? Your hearing ability. Unlike other people, you managed to get an acknowledgement from the so-called Princess of the Protector herself. That's why I think you might be able to discover something that normal people couldn't. Kai shook his head. You are overestimating me, Num. I am sending you to this island because I have another thought in my mind. You know what? Due to the size of the island and the number of magical beasts, the government had sent a group of elites and researchers in the past. It was at this time that one of them said they found a trace of magic power in those statues. Kai opened his mouth in surprise and blinked a few times, having a hard time believing it. It must be a coincidence. Although we couldn't measure the amount of magic power due to their structure and the lack of technology, We were sure that every single statue in that island contained magic power. It's just, no matter how hard we tried, we couldn't decipher the secret. So, you want to test it with my identity and hearing ability. That's part of the reason. The other reason is, I'm going to ask you to bring Eagle Group. Isabel has sharp eyes, so she might be useful in this situation. At the same time, Sophia's sixth sense might also be able to discover something. Hence, the three of you are going to test your luck in this place. Kai furrowed his eyebrows. There is no guarantee that we will discover anything, you know. Yes, I am not hoping for anything, but I feel that the riddle that Protector gave you, you will find it in this type of journey. Kai clenched his fists. He never had any thought about the riddle because he didn't want to have another problem in his life, but it seemed he couldn't avoid it. Even his teacher told him to solve this matter. Of course, I'm not going to force you if you don't want to. I just want to warn you that there might be a time where the knowledge can help you to solve the problem. After all, knowledge is the most wondrous thing that can help us understand our enemies better. Kai let out a long sigh. I understand. I will go with my team and Isabel's team 3 weeks from now. Before that, I need to come up with a working plan for the raid mission. Yeah, well, my plan is to have you go to Easter Island next month and the raid mission the month after. And I think you can rest your body from November to January. You might need to go to another place in February, but we will see after the result in Easter Island. Ria nodded. If hypothetically we found something, Sophia might report it to the EU base, you know. And my standing. Kai let out a long sigh. I have expected this. We might have a joint operation with their EU base, and we can't finish this type of thing within a few months. Well, I have some plans, so we will wait until you have finished this mission. Ria shrugged. I understand. Kai nodded with a solemn expression. If I don't have any results after 2 or 3 missions, I will abandon this idea. Ria nodded. As for now, I think I will be able to solve your side effect if I fully understand the nature of the Protector. All right, thank you, teacher. I will send the details after the meeting next week with those old geezers. For now, you need to focus on your role as a strategist. I understand. I will try to create a battle plan according to all those conditions. Then, I think it's over. I am going to… Whoa. Just as she was about to return to her laboratory, Kai glared at her, reminding her of her promise earlier. Hence, she immediately corrected herself. To my bed and sleep. She ran away and headed to the bed. Kai only came out of her house after he heard her breathing had stabilized like she was supposed to when sleeping. A human would have a different pace of breathing when they slept anyway, so he knew if she faked it or not. After that, he finally returned to his home and prepared for his school tomorrow. Chapter 237, talking about mysterious monuments. As soon as he returned, Kai brought the news about the new mission that they would need to go. That is our mission. Kai raised his hands after explaining for 1 hour. He reached out to the water bottle and sipped it to brush his dry throat. This is the first time I heard it. I mean, I know about conspiracy theories since it never disappears, but I can't relate to it. I know that it's hard to move those giant statues, but it is not at the level of this theory. If you want something supernatural, you should go to the Bermuda Triangle or something similar. Michelle blurted her confusion in one go. I know. That's why I am confused as well. But the fact that they contain magic power is still there, and we can't brush it off. Kai let out a long sigh. You can say that I am also pretty curious. After all, it never crosses my mind that a statue from a millennia ago can possess magic power. Still, we need to cross the ocean to reach Easter Island. Will we be all right? Sophia asked with a worried expression. I think it's fine. There are already a few scientists living on the island, so it's possible to go there. As for the ocean, the Protectors are living around the Bermuda Triangle, or at least that is our speculation. The sea in the opposite direction should be safe. Since you are confident in this matter, I won't say anything more. Sophia nodded with a solemn expression, remembering a certain matter back in EU base. Now that I think about it, I seem to have heard about something similar to this. Kai turned around and stared at her intensely. Even the others also waited for her to speak about this matter. As much as they felt weird when people mystified things like this, it was by all means something breathtaking when they heard some proof like the magic power inside the stone earlier. I will tell you. It's a secret, but I don't think it's considered a state secret. Sophia paused for a moment, reassembling the information in her mind. There are two spots that are being confirmed to possess high amounts of energy, Stonehenge and Karnak. Kai furrowed his eyebrows and pondered. I know a bit about Stonehenge, but I am completely clueless about Karnak. Michelle opened her device and searched for these two places on the internet before projecting it on the table. Stonehenge is a prehistoric monument in England. It consists of a ring of standing stones that seems to have many conspiracy theories around. It was constructed from 3000 BC to 2000 BC. Do they actually contain magic power inside them? Yes, I can assure you, I stumbled upon this thing when I was listening to my father. If I am not wrong, the study didn't result in anything other than the fact that these stones have magic power. Sophia nodded before sighing. Teacher asked me to do it because of my hearing ability. Sophia's sixth sense and Isabel's eyes are useful too, so… Kai scratched his head, wondering what he should do. He felt that this would be a pointless mission, but he also wanted to see whether his hearing ability had something to do with this. Well, it's the mission from your teacher. Of course, we will gladly comply, Michelle smiled. We will succeed either way, so I have no complaints about a mission like this. That's right. We can treat it as a vacation. Tasha agreed with a nod. As for Kai, he ignored them and searched for the other one called Karnak. Kai read it out loud. It turns out to be another stone monument. It was built around 4500 BC to as soon as 3300 BC. Some stones are small, and some stones are big, as if there is a meaning behind such an arrangement. And the way it's making a line shape instead of a circle like the Stonehenge, I think this is suspicious. The only problem is, yeah, it contains magic power. Sophia confirmed as she just opened the EU's information database. Of course, she didn't let anyone see this type of thing. Now this is an interesting topic. What is the reason for this? And the fact that there might be something behind it makes me curious. Although I have the same feeling with you, I doubt it will give us any result. Kai sighed. I have a proposal for you, Kai. If we truly discover something on Easter Island, I want to know about the truth. As for whether I can bring the information to the EU base or not, we can discuss it later. Sophia smirked as she seemed to be up for an adventure. Kai shrugged. Well, there is a chance for collaboration since there are many mysterious things in EU base. For the time being, you are one of us, so you can get any information that we get from a mission. As for how you use that information, it's your own choice. All right. Since that is the case, I will help you to the best of my ability. Sophia nodded with a smile. There is something still I can't understand. Michelle scratched her head in frustration. The other two were constructed a few thousand years ago, while the statues from Easter Island were built around 1,000 years ago. I think there is less chance for this to be something extraordinary. It's normal to see it that way. Now that we live in the 24th century, it's hard to believe such a thing. But I want to tell you that the Earth is more mysterious than we thought. Kai used Wea's line to convince Michelle. She contemplated for a moment and looked at the information about Moai. Moais are human figures carved by the Rapa Nui people on Easter Island between the years 1250 and 1500. Well, there is a theory here saying that these statues are symbols of authority and power, both religious and political. To the people who erected them and used them, they were actual repositories of sacred spirit and believed to be charged by a magical spiritual essence called mana. These statues were a representation of the ancient Polynesians' ancestors. Thus, there might be something hidden in these statues. Michelle furrowed her eyebrows. Well, rather than discussing the theory behind it, it's best to prepare to see it with your own eyes. Kai shrugged. If something like this is real, it will open many opportunities for us, because we might reach closer to the truth as to how animals turned into magical beasts and why magic power started to appear on Earth. Fair enough, Michelle nodded. This might be something different than any other things we have encountered. Ayaka clasped her hand and smirked. If there is really a mystery on the island, we might also fight something hidden there. So, I think we should proceed with caution. Kai and the others agreed to her. Anyway, let's wrap it. For now, I only want to inform you about this and don't want to talk too deep. After all, I need to do some planning for the upcoming raid mission. Kai sighed, brushing off the matter. Evan, go to the Eagle group and tell them about the mission. Why me? Evan seemed to be reluctant to do it. Whether it was because of his relationship with Isabel or another thing, he didn't care and said, "If it's not you, then who will?" Michelle and the others only smirked at him, throwing a teasing glance as if they knew he was just embarrassed. Evan clicked his tongue, rose from his seat and left the room. Kai looked at the closing door and nodded his head, starting to make a plan. He didn't forget to ask about everyone's opinion, since there might be something unique in their mind. As expected, Sophia and Michelle were above the rest about this, since they sometimes asked major questions and gave some advice. Of course, Kai didn't say anything if it was a secret like the secret code. As expected, it was indeed good to have only the generals to know about the secret code. This way, they wouldn't have a clash of opinions. He ended up refining his strategy and polishing it to the best level possible for a week of planning. It seemed that Rhea Ross wanted him not to have so many thoughts, because the ones who mostly commanded the armies are the generals. If they were too restricted by the plans, they would be too stiff to perform an emergency measure. In that case, it would be better to give them a casual plan, where they could improvise according to their own need. The challenge in this plan was to know the characteristics of each general and their positioning. Kai took every information he got from Rhea and incorporated it into his strategy. Although it was rough around the edges, it should be enough to satisfy every general. No, he should be calling them commanders. There is only one general in this battle, and she is Rhea. After finishing his planning, he was invited to the embassy, where they were supposed to be meeting with the generals and the president. The president only wanted to know the probability of them succeeding in the battle and won't interfere in their battle. Of course, someone drove him to the meeting place, where he met 2 ladies and 5 old men. "Good morning, Mr. President." Kai saluted and greeted the #1 person in the US base before looking at others. "Teacher, Sir Nathan, Ethan, Paolo, and Jose, and this lady is, she is." Chapter 238, Raid Mission Planning. She is. The girl was standing behind Paolo, so obviously he was supposed to be the one who introduced her, but she is Paolo's nanny. "Isn't that obvious?" Nathan snorted before making a smug smile. "You can't be serious. She is my wife, not my nanny." Paolo snarled and glared at Nathan. Ethan, Rhea, Jose, and even the president, Brent Joseph, laughed upon this. Just like how they knew about Paolo's personality, they knew how he just dug his own grave. Kai, on the other hand, was completely stupefied. He closed his eyes, pinched the bridge of his nose, and muttered to himself, "I don't want to be rude. Even with the gap of 30 years, it shouldn't matter because this is for the sake of repopulating the earth." Pfft. All of them burst out laughing. They couldn't contain it anymore after seeing how Kai acted. "You brat. I am the youngest out of the old men here, and I'm not even 50 years old." Paolo slammed the table, corrected Kai, and tried to stop the laughing with his face red because of the embarrassment. "Not very convincing, not 50 years old. But aren't you 49 years old? And your birthday is in January." Nathan teased him again before laughing out loud. "Besides," Paolo gritted his teeth as he was about to flare up, "she and I don't even have a 20 years gap." After he said that, a hand suddenly grabbed his head, trying to crush his skull. Ugh. When everyone turned around to see who it was that could make Paolo scream, they were shocked to see his wife be the culprit. Her expression sent chills down one's spine, even though she still wore her big and gentle smile. She then came closer and sent a dangerous glint toward Paolo. "What are you saying, honey? Not even 20 years. Are you mistaking? Are you saying, I'm old? You are angry at that?" Paolo's face became pale as he couldn't believe that his wife was actually angry about age rather than the embarrassment. Anyway, that guy is Paolo's wife. You can call her Erica or Lieutenant Erica, since she is officially Paolo's strategist. Paolo himself can't do anything other than storming inside the enemy and blast his way toward the target. Hence, we are calling his wife his nanny. It's not that wrong though. Rhea finally introduced her to Kai. Well, it's good to have this happy atmosphere. After all, his first wife had fallen in battle, and his second wife passed away after giving birth to his son. This time she chose someone who could stay by his side and treasure her dearly, Nathan added. "I don't know if you already know about this, but you should be aware of the last zodiac, Taurus, right?" Ethan asked. "Yes." Kai nodded without hesitation. "He's his son." Jose continued the conversation. "Ah, Kai opened his mouth in surprise. He's also a muscle brain like him. If only I meet you sooner, I can raise that boy to be a brilliant guy who can master strategy and brawl. And now he is like you, and the only thing he could think is to fight. Geez, Paolo's wife Erica said while pinching Paolo's ear. I am sorry. Paolo couldn't say anything other than those 3 words. In fact, he wanted to cry at this moment because of this embarrassment. However, none of the people inside actually commented on this matter. They could see that Erica seemed to love Paolo from the bottom of her heart despite the age difference, and they felt happy for him. After all, Paolo had been serving the army for almost 30 years. He deserved this happiness after his dark past. Even Rhea and Nathan, who never had the time to deal with something like this, lifted their lips a little. Kai also closed his eyes and smiled. At the same time, he suddenly thought of another thing that he could consider. He looked at Erica for a few seconds and fell into deep thought. What, boy? Don't say that you love me. I already have him. Erica was taken aback and prepared to correct Kai's way if he truly did what she just told him. Kai shook his head and smirked. No, I just think a good idea. Nathan lifted his eyebrows as it piqued his interest. It was a phrase that was hard to come out of his mouth, so it must be something special, especially when he saw how confident Kai's face was. Yes. I will explain it later if you don't mind. Kai nodded before walking toward the screen and showed the map to them. Before you start, I have something to say. Rhea stopped him and looked at Brent. I am going to have my student explore Easter Island along with Sophia Campbell. Brent furrowed his eyebrows as he suddenly turned serious. Mind telling me more? It's not a big deal. He will check the site by himself. Still, it's hard to go there. In the past, we needed a boat to go there. Because of these magical beasts in the sea, we were unable to do it and sent a helicopter. And yet, we had many casualties just to reach that place. You must know the risk yourself. Why do you want to send your student? Brent glared at Rhea, wondering if she actually wanted to send her student to his death. Don't think I don't know the fact that you are building a runway there. Knowing there might be a secret in that place, you are doing everything you can to support the investigation. Now, you think I am reckless? Rhea snorted at him. Brent was the president of this base that was known for his thirst for knowledge. Because of that, he always sent some funds along with his hard-earned money to fund something like this. And to think Rhea wants to take advantage of it. Look at this. I am doing you a favor in this matter. You should know that my student got recognition from their side, so he might be a clue that you are waiting for. Hence, I am sending him there. Rhea glared back, not scared of this president. Brent's body shook after hearing her and thought it might be a good idea to do that. Still, he tried to change the target to something that needed a smaller cost. There is actually another site to do this. No, I will have him go there. If you are worried about the cost, I can simply give you. I have too much money that I can't spend anyway. How many do you need? 100 million. 200 million. Rhea snorted and raised her hand as if her victory was nothing but assured. Brent closed his eyes for a second and nodded his head. Ori. Since I am the one sponsoring this trip, I want him to get there safely. So, I want the elites to send them there with a few fighter jets to accompany him. Rhea didn't let him agree first and threw a condition. Are you insane? What do you want to bet with me? If my Kai can discover something new, you pay me back all the cost. How's that? Rhea smirked and looked down on him. Cage. Brent clenched his fists for a few seconds and sighed. All right. Since you want to throw your money away, I won't stop you, but I won't agree with your bet. Humph. Afraid of losing? Rhea shrugged. Brent snorted and looked away. Rhea didn't care about this small thing and looked at Kai. There you have it. Now you can start your presentation about your plan. How do you expect me to explain in this tense atmospheres? Kai sighed inwardly before taking a deep breath and explaining the plan since he had no choice. This is the map, and we start from here. Kai began his explanation, covering everything in his plan. Although there were some questions uttered by the others, he managed to answer them flawlessly. In the end, none of them found a single complaint in his tactic and came to a tacit understanding. Good work. You have done your job well. Rhea applauded and cheered for Kai after everything was over. It's because of teacher's guidance. Kai shook his head and answered humbly. If you can behave like your student, the base will know peace. Nathan sighed as he glanced at Rhea Ross. Ah, do you want to die, old man? How about we take this matter outside? Don't worry, I won't injure you too much and make sure you can return to the battlefield in 1 month. Rhea clasped her hand and cracked the bone on her fingers. All right, that's enough. Ren stopped them before looking at Kai mysteriously and asking, how big is the percentage of success of this plan? The worst will be 60%. Well, I don't know about the soldiers as well, so 50%. Oi, you are too pessimistic. Our soldiers are better than you think, Nathan complained, while the other generals also nodded in agreement. Since that is the case, I will give the official order for this, Brent agreed after watching the generals' expressions. They seemed to be confident with Kai's plan. After that, he suddenly remembered another thing. By the way, I can see that you are a talented strategist. Coming up with a plan like this already makes you extraordinary. In addition, Rhea Ross seems to not help you in this plan. Still, I can't see this great idea of yours. What did you mean by that? Although he was only a president, he had served the army in the past and became a lieutenant general in his career. However, even he couldn't recognize the great idea. Or it might be because he hadn't returned to the battlefield that his sense grew dull and couldn't recognize the great idea himself. Hence, he asked, no one couldn't really laugh at him since he is the president of this base anyway. Suddenly, the room turned into silence, allowing Brent to know that he wasn't the only one to get confused about what he stated earlier. Even Rhea Ross, Kai's teacher, couldn't comprehend and felt he had another plan behind this. Rhea Ross looked up, closed her eyes, and thought for a moment. Suddenly, enlightenment came to her as she opened her eyes wide as if shock ran through her body. She looked at Kai for a second, then turned to the president and laughed out loud. Ha ha! My student is really a genius. I wouldn't be able to understand his plan if he didn't say he has a good idea. Rhea seemed to have deciphered the plan by how she glanced at the president, and yet no one had a single clue what this pair of student and teacher were thinking. Everyone was still working their brain, but to no avail. They were dying to know Kai's plan as they looked at him to destroy this suspense that was killing them. Meanwhile, Kai smiled when watching his teacher, took a deep breath, smiled slyly, and finally opened his mouth. Mr. President, I have a request. Chapter 239, The Talk Before the Departure. Inside room 420, Kai and the others finally had the time to relax and began their research about Easter Island. Of course, everything came from a legitimate source. After getting the president's permission, he received a special rank to get the secret information about the island, including the past research conducted there. The information blew their mind away. There is something strange about this island. Evan looked at the group. True, most of the statues should be around the edge of the island, watching over its land. And yet, half of the statues had moved and gotten destroyed. From the research alone, they seemed to be destroyed by something instead of a natural process or disaster. Sophia added, yes. At first, I thought it was the works of magical beasts. However, I could see that wasn't the case. The magical beasts wouldn't be able to move these statues due to its weight. Ayaka agreed and said the part she just read. No. You should look at this. There is something wrong with this. There should be people on this island, but from the report, there was not a single person to be seen, not even their remains. In other words, these people had disappeared mysteriously. Michelle narrowed her eyes, focusing on this part. Do you mean there is a possibility they are still alive? Tasha realized the hidden meaning in Michelle's words. Possibly, although the chance is low, it's not zero. This might also be the reason why teacher wants me to investigate the area. I can simply search around the island to check whether there is still a living being there. Still, look at these statues. I mean, the background. Kai looked at the green scenery around the statues. Now that I think about it, it looks like a battle took place there. From my point of view, the military in the past had troubles in fighting against these magical beasts, let alone these people, and to produce this kind of aftermath. Michelle looked at a few giant's craters around the scattered statues. Kai thought for a moment and asked, I wonder if these statues actually moved themselves there. According to the legend, they were ancestors of the Rapa Nui people, right? And they existed to watch over the land to protect them. The group widened their eyes for a second before making a weird expression. That's not a bit scientific. Well, the appearance of magic power alone is already unscientific. In fact, no matter how much I rely on science to use my magic, it's only due to magic power and my hearing ability that I could make my magic. And again, it's magic. Kai sighed. I don't want to accept it, but that's the only thing I can see from this. Then our first target is these statues then. We will search around the intact statues before looking at the shattered ones. Michel asked for his confirmation before taking a note about it. Yes, I think we should mark those in the center of this island, the ones that are under the foot of the Teravaca volcano. Kai nodded. How about the volcanoes? Do you know anything about it? There are 2 volcanoes here, Teravaca and Puacatique. We don't know anything about it. And the research also said nothing extraordinary around the volcanoes. We could check it later. Is there a time limit for this? Sophia shook her head and asked, No, but I don't want to stay too long in that place. 7 days at most. Kai thought for a moment and answered, Fair enough. Unless something extraordinary is going on, I think it's the best for us to not stay there for too long. Michel agreed with his decision. Besides, Kai stared at her, confused. Nothing. I will say it to you later. All right. Kai nodded. We still have 2 weeks to prepare, so don't rush everything. Take your time and see whether there is something wrong about the island from the report. There might be some uncertainties on the island, but I will take a dramatic measure in case we need to escape from there. So, you don't need to worry about your safety. Yes. The girls already knew about Tasha's ability and knew that Kai could make a teleportation magic farther than her, so they knew everything was under control. After the meeting ended, Michel whispered something to Kai before the 2 stepped outside the room. He looked around and found that there wasn't a single person in the corridor, so he thought they could talk there. Do you need anything? Kai, can you help me? Michel asked with a guilty face. She fiddled her finger and looked left and right. Kai could see her anxiety, wondering if this request is a bit something. Still, Kai offered his best smile and asked, Do you need anything? Actually, I want you to be my training partner. Oh, I thought you were going to ask something excessive. I've been training Evan recently, and since he has some progress, I think I can let him train alone for the time being. Kai nodded. But I can't believe you to be someone who wears this kind of expression with a request like this. Is there something wrong with you? Maybe your family. Michel looked down for a few seconds. After that, she looked up and came to his ears, whispering something. Kai's face turned from normal to shock to serious. The matter she just told him might be a bit troublesome to take care of. He might even ask Nathan and Ria to take care of the aftermaths. Luckily, he already got ranks from the military, and Brent Joseph seemed not that bad. With all of these cards in his hand, he should be able to protect Michel for some time, and he would receive a general rank by that time. Well, the matter is not more serious than Tasha unsealing her space magic, Kai thought and nodded. All right, it should be fine to do that. I will help you with your training. Thank you. Michel smiled brightly and hugged him outside the room. 2 weeks had passed. There wasn't a big movement from the army or the magical beast, so Kai and his group could do their own things undisturbed. It was a precious, peaceful time that Sanai loved so much. At the same time, she didn't need to follow them to Eastern Island. One day before their departure, Tasha and Michel grabbed his hand and took him away from the room as soon as the school ended. We are going, obviously, to the supermarket to buy our supplies for a week. The 2 girls seemed to be pumped up to show their cooking skills, since both of them had the best skill in the group. Unfortunately, they simply only had a few opportunities to show that skill to him because they ended the mission too fast. The one that was the most memorable was the previous raid mission, when Kai was tired after working hard with Vaya. Suddenly, Ayaka rose from her seat and followed her. She never slacked off her training about this too, since the scene in United Asia reminded her about her uselessness. Tasha banned Kai from entering the kitchen to show her ability, so this was one of the few things that they could do to impress Kai. And yet, there was a single someone who just realized their biggest, weakest. It was Sophia. Acting like a princess and having everything she needs were her daily occurrences. However, she realized if she didn't have any other qualities, she couldn't be compared to the other girls. In that case, How could she finish her job? Are you not going, Evan? Kai even asked only Evan instead of both of them. No, this is their competition. As long as I get the same portion, I won't have any complaints. It's delicious anyway. Evan shook his head. Is there anything you can't eat? They already know it. Just don't bring cheese. Isabel doesn't like it. Oh, as expected from the husband, I am impressed. Kai clapped his hand before leaving the room. Evan twisted his eyebrows and turned to Sophia, who remained in her seat. You are not going. Sophia gritted her teeth and looked away. Oh, so you can't cook? Well, I think cooking is a basic necessity, especially since we are often dispatched to the front line. It's only because of Captain's girls that I can slack in this area. Evan shrugged before commenting, Well, I think you better. Before he could finish his words, Sophia already screamed at him. I know that I need to learn cooking, Evan Young. You must have researched me, right? Sophia gritted her teeth. I have no complaint about food. Just make sure you don't say cooking is about feeling. As long as you love someone, the food will be good. It's a bullshit. I am saying this because I will surely need to heal myself in case that happens. She snorted and looked away. The next day, Kai and the others went toward the military base. Kai almost forgot to mention it to them, but Rhea had asked for their bodyguards to send them safely. And when the girls saw how the fighter jets followed them, they simply had no word. On one hand, they thought Rhea Ross was playing around about this mission, but it turned out she was dead serious. If not, there was no way for her to send all these people just to escort them. Luckily, it seemed they had no problem in the first meeting. After escorting the plane, the other planes turned around and returned to the base, since they would escort them again on their way home. He and the group then finally stepped outside the plane. Chapter 240, Carissa Mel. In the southeastern Pacific Ocean was a vast island, untouched after a few centuries. Only Brent, who thirsts for knowledge, finally dared to venture to this island. Kai and his group also stepped on this island today, feasting their eyes with the peaceful green scenery. Although the grass was slightly longer as it had grown for so long, the situation on the runway was mostly subtle. The small breeze wind brushed their skin and swayed their hair. Kai didn't say anything about this and simply closed his eyes, checking if there were any magical beasts nearby. Isabel also did the same, observing every single detail in her surroundings. This is interesting. Kai smiled mysteriously as he opened his eyes. What do you mean? Michelle glanced at him. Nothing. The island is just too quiet for me. Kai sighed. For an island inhabited by magical beasts in the past, it is too quiet. At the same time, there is not a single living being or their remains here. Never mind. Let's rest first, and we will settle everything later. As much as they wanted to say something, the group nodded and went toward the hangar where they were supposed to meet with the current leader of this island. But Kai suddenly turned around, finding a middle-aged woman walking toward them. This action surprised her a little bit before smiling. As expected from the person recognized by the president, even though I was walking without presence and little to no sound, it seems I am still incapable of passing your defense. The group turned around and realized someone just got behind them. It's echoing in a high volume in my ears. Kai shrugged and asked, So, why would a person with a high level here to use your wind to camouflage your presence and hide your footsteps? You must be one of a kind. I am Carissa Mel. She brushed away her purple hair to her back and slightly bowed her head. Carissa Mel. Evan widened his eyes, having met her. He wasn't sure before, but after hearing her name, he was convinced it was her. Oh, our little hacker here finally recognizes me. Carissa smiled at Evan. You know her? Kai glanced at him and asked. Yes, she is President Brent Joseph's cousin. If you can say the president is the one leading in the open, she is the one manipulating in the dark. I sometimes clashed against her if I wanted to learn some information, Fufu. My record is 20 wins, 10 draws, and 16 losses. Well, just brush this matter off me, since I also help you in the dark to make sure you are not arrested from learning many top secrets. And those wins and draws were the ones with the highest authority level. You just let me win when you think the information is not a big deal. Just say that I am curious about your potential and train you a little bit. Don't you realize that your skill has grown since that time? Carissa smiled gently, but she released an aura that scared Evan. Evan gritted his teeth before hiding behind Isabel. He wanted to say that Carissa had once appeared before him and told him about herself, including the offer to become her disciple. However, Evan refused because he was going for the Zodiac project. Hence, she didn't have a choice other than giving up on him, but he was too scared to do that in case she released the information about him. Anyway, you haven't answered my question. Kai stopped them and looked at Carissa, wondering if she had a hidden agenda. Oh, that is rude of me. The reason I am here is to make sure you don't break anything valuable in this place. You can say that I am the protector sent by that Brent, as well as your guide here. I have been here for 2 years, so you can ask anything you want to know. Is that so? Kai thought for a moment. In that case, we will have 12 people in our group. Isn't that too big? Not at all. Because we are careful here, we usually have a group of 10 every time we venture to this island. Although most of the magical beasts here have been exterminated, there are still potential threats from the ground and the sea. Hence, we are just putting countermeasures for this. Then, how many people currently reside in this place? 20 researchers and 60 fighters. If you add me and your 2 groups, we have a total of 92 people. Is that any recent finding? You have seen it all in the information database. Everything in that place is updated every day. We have a plan in our exploration, so should we follow your instructions or do what we want? I will follow your schedule. However, you need my permission first if you want to go outside this place. She pointed at the metal fence in their surroundings. As long as you pass that fence, that is my territory, so I need to follow you. If you are inside here, you can do anything you want. I understand. I will give you our schedule later and seek your opinion. For now, I think we can come inside first. Sure. We have set up 4 tents for this occasion. Carissa nodded with a smile, guiding them inside. Even though she said 4 tents, it was military tents that were usually used for 10 people. If they just sorted it by group, they would only need 2 tents. Unfortunately, there was already a secret order from higher up. Kai Carter, Michelle Graham, Tasha Carter, and Kudo Ayaka will stay in the first tent. Evan Young and Isabel Fisher will stay in the second tent. The rest of the Eagle group will stay in the third tent. And Miss Sophia will have the 4th tent for herself. What? Sophia walked toward Carissa and glared at her, ready to flare up at any moment. Why am I the only one to stay in the 4th tent? You might as well put me in the first tent. We can't do that. Miss Sophia is revered in the EU base, so we don't dare to treat you lightly. Hence, to avoid you having any weird rumors that can probably ruin your reputation, we can only do this. Carissa explained with a sad look, as if she had decided something hard. You don't. You think it's a waste. The tent can hold so many people. It's better for me to squeeze myself inside. No, no. How can we do such a cruel thing? Just like how you treat the VIP from other bases, we will also treat you as a special guest. Unfortunately, this is the level that we can do due to the lack of resources. Sophia was raging and cursing this woman. She even added thought that this woman had the 3rd job, which is to separate Kai from her. Kai glanced at Sophia for a few seconds before saying to Carissa, "We have brought our daily necessities here, so we won't need your supply, including water. I will take all of them from the plane after this. I will help you with the job later. We will explore the island from the southern side and go counterclockwise before making our way to the center of the island and the 2 volcanoes. Will that be fine with you?" Yes. Most of the shattered statues are in the southern area of the island, so I think that will take the longest. Unfortunately, most of the buildings here have collapsed and are unusable. If not, we can use them as our shelter. Anyway, I will guide you around this southern area for a day, then go to the northern area for another day. Then the other part on the 3rd day. We will then check the center of the island, including the volcanoes, for 2 to 3 days before we are moving to the statues in the center. I will leave it to you in that area. Kai nodded. For today, I think we will try to get accustomed to this island first and rest. It's still 3 p.m., so we have time. I understand. My place is 100 meters from here, so you can go there if you need any help. Carissa nodded and pointed her hand to the west. All right. Kai nodded and instructed the girl to help him set up everything in this place. He then went toward the airplane that was going to stay for a week here. Of course, Carissa had been appointed to be their caretakers as well. Luckily, The pilots didn't really have any complaints because a job like this was normal. After having loaded off their luggage, Kai distributed everything and went around the base. He also wanted to check whether there was a magical beast on the island, but his range was too small to cover the entire island, considering the base was built in the southern part. When he returned, Ayaka, Tasha, and Michelle had cooked their dinner. The Eagle Group and Sophia never tasted their cooking, so they were immersed by the taste. Kai tasted Ayaka's cooking and thought it was fine. Although it wasn't at Tasha's and Michelle's level, she had surpassed her mother, despite having little to no time to cook. Sophia ended up sulking because her pride just got hurt, knowing that she couldn't fight them in this area. She then went toward her own tent and retired. The others also did the same as they reviewed all the information regarding this island for one last time. As for Kai, he visited Carissa to have a great talk with her. They discussed what they could do and couldn't do on this island, the details of their plan, and Carissa's real mission. It turned out not only Brent, but Rhea Ross also asked her to take care of him. The reason was simple. The unknown is the most dangerous threat, and the two couldn't leave Kai unprotected in this type of thing.